What is going on, everybody? How are y'all doing? Great to be here. Well, I guess. I don't know. It's funny because on the weeks where the Bears got annihilated and we're going to go through the game, I am always, let's just say, a little bit hesitant to jump in and be like, stoked to be here. How are y'all doing? Even though, by Wednesday, I usually don't feel as bad about the game because the game happens, it is what it is, and we move on. I hope we're all healthy enough football fans that it is not a stab to the gut. Obviously it hurts a little bit, you know what I mean? But it doesn't ruin your week that the Bears got annihilated by the Super Bowl champions, because let's be honest, we knew this team was only going to be so good in the first place, and they walked into Tampa Bay and played even worse than I think we anticipated that they would. So very bad, hurt a lot, but we lick our wounds, we come back at it, and we take a hard look at what happened so that we can watch for what goes better next time. Now, it'll be really interesting to see where the Bears go from here. I, at the very least, am going to be enthralled to see what happens next, because I don't think it gets any lower than what we saw this Sunday, which, hey, like John O2 is saying, it's a pretty low bar for it to get better. Like, it kind of has to. It can't be this bad all the time. But I think the main thing that I wanted to focus on in today's breakdown, and I left it up in the agenda, I guess I should point here so that you could see it up there in the corner. But the main thing I want to focus on here is Justin Fields. So if you've been a avid listener to the Bear With Me podcast or the Rule of Three podcast, honestly, any of the stuff that I do, you've probably heard me say before this year started that this was always going to be a development year, at least in my opinion, that whether or not the Bears make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs, what happens to Matt Nagy, doesn't happen to Matt Nagy, so on and so forth, that it was all about Justin Fields from the instant that Justin Fields got drafted, and that's all that matters. And I've seen a lot of people that want to throw Justin Fields out, or at least are starting to turn on him as a huge, I've seen huge part of the problem. I've seen bench him for Dalton. I've seen a whole lot of stuff that I just want to clarify, if nothing else, because maybe this is the stream. It's going to turn me into a Justin Fields stumper. I like to hope that I have been fair and balanced enough in criticisms and praise of other players to have earned at least your ear for an hour or two. We'll see. But I don't think, thank you so much, by the way, Bucket Stats, for donating $5 as we get kicked off here. The trouble is that I will tell you plainly, I don't think Fields played well. I'm not about to tell you that Fields played a great football game, but I am going to tell you that I think the Bears' offense looked so unbearably bad, so unbelievably bad on Sunday that I don't know what it would have taken for a quarterback to really succeed within the game plan, within the plays that Fields ran, and even within that, I would tell you that I think Fields showed a lot of growth from where we were in the Cleveland game in this game alone. Because as silly as it sounds, you have to compare the two, right? Against Cleveland, the Bears got stacked up against a dramatically better team than them. Fields faced less time than he should normally expect from an opposing defense, and I thought he looked, getting away from it for a couple weeks, lost. He completed 6 passes. He got sacked more times than he completed a pass, right? He struggled, and I don't want to go all the way to saying he didn't look ready. I think that can sometimes get overblown, but at the same time, he definitely didn't look like the game plan meshed with what he wanted to do offensively, and paid the price for it with a lot of sacks. In this game, it took a backup right tackle that got 0 reps at right tackle to get Justin Fields sacked, if memory serves, 4 times. One of those on 4th down, where a sack hurts you a little bit less. 2 of those happened within 2 seconds. I timed them. There were 2 of them where the snap to hit time was less than 2 seconds long, which is time for 1 read. Exactly. There were 2 of these sacks that happened as he was throwing, and then 1 other sack that honestly escapes memories at this stage, so we'll see it when we see it. But the key here is I think Fields looked much more like an NFL quarterback in this game, and frankly, had his team been on the same page or bailed him out when he needed them to, or even made plays when he offered plays to be made, I don't know if we would be talking about near as poor of a game. Let's just put it that way. But at that stage, I feel like I got to jump in. Let me see. Like, yeah, I'm seeing a whole lot of like very, very angry fans, and I totally get it, by the way. The trouble that I'm seeing, so somebody mentioned earlier in the show, like as we are here with the opening monologue, about how on Bears Banter, which is at Windy City Gridiron, if you aren't listening to Bears Banter, I feel like you could, or I feel like you ought to. That's hosted by Bill Zimmerman. He recently had Olin Kreutz on, and at the sheer mention of Sam Mustipher, Olin Kreutz popped off and got very upset about the idea that we would criticize somebody like him. And honestly, I mean, if you want to ask my perspective, I think Sam's struggling. I think the right tackle spot was a real problem until Bars got brought in. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I was surprised too, because I don't think all too highly of Bars, but once Bars got brought into the game, I would say things solidified at the very least and got to a more manageable level. But let's go through the game. I feel like we're, 5-10 minutes in to just talking about the game. We've talked enough platitudes. Let's dig into some film. Let me read through a couple more questions and let me read through a couple more questions, answer them, and so on and so forth. But yeah, dude, right, Derek? I'm not looking to get thrown into the next solar system, so I don't want to end up on Olin Kreutz's bad side, that's for sure. But let me see here. Do I think it's time to slide Daniels or Whitehair back to center when Borum comes back? I mean, I don't think Borum's going to play guard necessarily. I'll be really interested to see how Larry Borum does. Sometimes I think that us fans can get a little too excited about young players before they jump in. I mean, running back is one thing. Like, talking Khalil Herbert specifically, rookie running backs tend to jump in full throttle almost all the time. But if you take a look at the most successful tackles in the NFL right now, most of them are old. You've got like Tristan Wirfs and a bunch of elderly statesmen. The fact that Jason Peters, at 39 years old, probably 400 pounds when he first joined the team, has been a pretty serviceable left tackle might tell you all you need to know about tackle. And whenever I watch Borum, I see the frame that you want, I see the arm length you want, I see the foot speed that you're looking to see in a tackle, and I see a guy who, at least on the left side, still got his right and left mixed up because he spent his basically whole life playing right tackle and was suddenly playing on the left side. Now he's been on the shelf for the better part of a month and a half. So I would probably tell y'all it would be best if we don't rush him in. But, that's at least my 2 cents. Now, does that mean that Lachavious Simmons should keep starting? I don't think so. No, not at all. The Bears need a better plan than that, that's for sure. But that is a separate question. So let me see here. If TB12 was on the Bears still would have been blown out. I agree. I think that the Buccaneers, we're going to talk about this in the defensive end. I'll give you guys the defensive highlights. Here's a preview. The Buccaneers are better than the Bears. The Buccaneers got Mike Evans ISO'd up against Jalen Johnson, and Mike Evans won the battle. When they didn't want to target Eddie Jackson, because they did target him a couple times, I can remember 2 targets. One that tipped off of Evans's hands for no gain, and another where Eddie dislodged the ball in the end zone. But they could target Kindle Vildor whenever they wanted to, who did his best. He deflected a pass away, and he gave one. And Duke Shelley, who made a tackle downhill for 3rd and 10 and gave another one away. Or Danny Trevathan, who in the end zone, I remember Brady looked off his guy, came back to Trevathan's, and just threw a perfect pass right into, a very small window that I cannot remember who it was that pulled it down. Might have been Godwin, but they did. I mean, the Tampa Bay's general plan was just, we're going to be better than you, and that kind of hurt. DHC did I thought personally that he did a very serviceable job at second safety. He at the very least has a quick trigger, which is nice. I like watching him at the very least, but again, I feel like I am now starting to belabor the point. Let's dive into offense and talk through what's going on. So I have to start with the first play of the game. if only because it's almost comedic genius that we're going to kick off with, let me see. Yeah, we, we have to start with another failed toss crack, don't we? Like, is there any other place to start than toss crack for no gain, right? Just kick out into absolutely no space, smothered for, I think, maybe a gain of one, if not a gain of none. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. So if you don't know my own personal story with this game, this was the first game in like 3 years that I wasn't able to watch live, like not even watching on my cell phone and so on and so forth. I was at a Formula One race, and then I was driving home during the game, so I got to listen to it and didn't hear about the first quarter and a half. So I jumped into the game at 28-0, which hurt. Like, I really hurt. I was but so the fact that I then cracked the game open after the fact to catch up and see, oh, look at that. We opened with toss crack, which if you don't know about toss crack, the gist is you're going to have the running back jump out here so that you can try to attack this C gap while having usually the tight end and the wide receivers are going to collapse down on players that don't anticipate it so that you can basically trap them, right? You've got this guy pushing up. Mooney will take him. Kmet's going to roll over, so ideally he's going to take out the defensive end. Cody Whitehair walls off this guy, and then Jason Peters pops out, and hopefully he's one-on-one, and you're able to ISO somebody up and gain anywhere from... honestly, I've seen toss crack taken for touchdowns when it's used well. But so... the trouble is that when the Bears run it, and I don't know whose fault this is, you're going to see Kmet and Mooney try to block the same guy. Like, it feels like every time they run this, they do something wrong. Two guys blocking one person while 1, 2, 3 defenders all flood the lane that you're trying to attack is not good. Like, this is not the aim of any football play. And Peters, who is, I think it's fair to say that 39-year-old, soon-to-be Hall of Famer Jason Peters knows how football is played. Peters is taking the most, or what is it, the first assignment that he can at this point. So he sees 33, thinks, okay, maybe the running back can deal with him. I've got to take the outside most threat. And so, like I think it was Derek said, Herbert does a great job to break a tackle and get back to the line of scrimmage. But, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that has just absolutely killed the Bears for weeks now. It feels like they'll call... toss crack isn't even a cheeky play. It's just the idea that with 3 threats, Kmet's supposed to be blocking somebody, and Mooney and Kmet aren't really supposed to block the same person. Now, I can't say I know the play. Like, I know the gist of the play. I can't tell you I know the play call. My best guess as to what happened here is either it was one of these two missed an assignment, or that Kmet was supposed to do kind of like a wind back block, and that may not be the right term, but basically where he pinches in off the motion, plants his feet, and then gets back out on the other side of Darnell Mooney to take, in this case it would be 33, Peters takes, 35, and then Herbert is one-on-one with either the safety or the linebacker, whoever gets there first. But it doesn't matter, because 33 is left unblocked, and with him unblocked, he just torches the play. There's nothing you can do there. I don't want to spend too long on some of these, but man, exactly, Akusai. Exactly what you're saying. It doesn't look like Kmet's trying to do that. Both of these guys look intentionally and deliberately engaged on the end. So I wouldn't put it on anybody other than coaching. I don't want to be the Bears streamer or analyst that goes, it's the coach's fault. Latavius Simmons would be an all-pro if he was on Baltimore. Justin Fields right now would be in the race for offensive rookie. Well, actually, he might be. So let me use a different example. Damiere Byrd, secret second-team all-pro right there if he was just used correctly. Marquise Goodwin, it's not that he's bad. He's just not being used well. I don't like playing the coaching game most of the time because that exactly what you heard. That's what I feel like it sounds like. But in this case, two guys in the same place, both of them looking very convicted in doing so. I can't pin it anywhere else because we've seen it too often now. They are now 1 for 4 running toss crack at all this season. That doesn't even like include 2020, and 2020 they didn't run it well either. So you tell me, Bears fans, and you ultimately make your own decision. But like Peter BDM saying, it's the first play of the game and we've already got a miscue. You're killing me. Like that. We're gonna move on. But so here's the second play of the game, and it's not any better. Second play of the game is immediately your franchise getting torched. I mean, oh my gosh, torched so badly. It's holy moly bad. So credit to the Buccaneers for this play, by the way, because basically, if I had to guess, like, or what is this? I'm going to have to talk through, apologies. I'm going to have to talk. Yeah, you're going to hear some sniffles. You might hear some frog in my throat. Trust me, it was worse days ago. I sounded a little more like this. Like, you could call it a chain smoker. You could call it a sick person. But it was, I tried to record a podcast at one point, and it sounded so nasty. I felt like it was just better to not post anything. So, yeah, thankfully my voice came back to me before Wednesday night, because I really love you guys and didn't want to leave this one hanging, that's for sure. But so let's get to it. Yeah, it was real rough, Akusai. It was gosh, Derek, my COVID experience was very different. I live in Texas. It feels like it's impossible to avoid COVID without never leaving your house. I'm pretty sure I got it at the grocery store, but it sucked. But so anyways, getting back out there, what happened here, if I had to guess, is, and I'm truly just guessing, shooting from the hip, it's 2nd and 10, the Bears are under center, and I tend to imagine that Todd Bowles immediately, Todd Bowles instantly realized, chances are this is going to be play action. Like, at the very least, we've got to send somebody just in case this is play action, because it's 2nd and 10. What are they going to do from under center? Drop back and pass? Are they going to run the ball? Like, we'll take them running the ball. We'll take them doing a drop back pass. We can't have them getting back on their feet with play action, so we're going to send an edge blitzer right here that hopefully overwhelms a rookie quarterback in the middle of a play action fake, and boy, howdy, does it work, right? Like, so, as we saw earlier, Justin Fields gets to his run fake as the whole offensive line is running general pass pro, which, by the way, I hate it when you go play action with the offensive line in generic pass pro, because most of the time, these defensive linemen, they're not necessarily reading the run fake. Like, they don't watch the football quite like we do. Most of the time, they look at the guy in front of them, the defensive lineman. Like, let me show you what I mean here. Actually, we could probably get a better look from underneath. So, these defensive linemen primarily care about what the guys in front of them do. And as you're going to see here, while they do stand up out of their stance instead of necessarily fading backwards, they sit right at the front of the line. This is not a running play. Like, this is a passing play, and everybody can tell. Now, it doesn't really matter. The blitz comes through so quickly. I tend to think that they would have run it anyways. But what we like to clarify is we like it when everybody steps to the right and they run what looks like outside zone, but it's got a pass action on the back end of it. So then the whole defense tends to flow because they've got to defend a very normal running play. In fact, a running play the Bears are pretty good at, all things told, though they like running it to the left. And then there's Justin Fields sitting in the back with nobody bothering him because everybody's focused on Herbert. In this case, I want you to just pay attention to how many people focus on Herbert at all. The answer is not many of them. So while, as Herbert said in his postgame, it would have been nice for him to somehow cut all the way over from here to this person on the side and make this block, that's not realistic. Peters missed the guy in front of him. Either way, second play of the game, Fields was getting absolutely toasted. Now, forced fumble, if it comes from 58, probably not. So I guess that would have been ideal. But I would tell you with a straight face that while this is kind of on Herbert, Peters makes a mistake, Herbert makes a mistake. It's also a terrible play call. It's not a terrible play call. It's a perfectly okay play call, but an ideal defensive play call against it. I'm surprised the Bears weren't a little bit more prepared, and by the Bears, I mean through Fields, for a lot of the blitzes that Tampa Bay threw at them early. In this case, they just overwhelmed poor Jason Peters, who, I mean, it's not as if the Bears didn't have enough blockers. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys back to pass protect, including Herbert. So that's 8 people pass protecting, and they still get beat by, if memory serves, it's not even that heavy a blitz. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one of their better blitz or stronger blitzes of the day. They threw a lot of 4 and 5 man blitzes at the Bears, but they definitely screwed them up. Very, very badly. And obviously, it's a forced fumble, but when you take a look at the route on, what could Fields have done? The answer's not much for this one. I mean, he truly gets hit before he's even planted his feet. Steps back, maybe right now you would consider that he's hit the back of his drop, but Mooney's nowhere near out of his break, so he'd have to have thrown the ball somehow well before this point if Fields, the quarterback, was going to avoid it. Herbert does his best to slow the rusher down. Can't do much against a full-speed DB that just got 15 yards head start. So you tip your cap to Todd Bowles at this point and would count yourself lucky if you're the Bears that you didn't lose this fumble. But that's about all you get. So, in my opinion, the Bears are now 0 for 2 on execution. Todd Bowles is 1 for 2 on sniffing out a play call. And exactly like Derek's saying, if somehow Fields had eyes in the back of his head, he just would have handed the ball to Khalil Herbert. But I'm not sure Herbert would have taken it, so maybe the ball would have ended up on the ground either way. ASON, the answer is they try to do a lot of them, and they just get stuck. Like the slant routes. That's what ASON's asking about. When's the last time we ran a simple slant route? Answer's quite a few times, honestly. The Bears have tried to run a bunch of slants. They just get covered because what the Bears tend to want to do in the passing game is pretty obvious. But we'll get there when we get there. We will, trust me, you'll see some. But so we're probably not going to go through literally every single play that the Bears ran. I have some highlights, and if you guys have questions about other ones, you can ask. But immediately after this, so what? It's 3rd and 15, and you're going to hear the phrase, you've heard me say it a lot, you don't plan the parade over a lot of the things that we saw from Fields, but I do want to point out where it's clear to me at least that Fields is growing, and in a simple play like this, you see him take a play action. Was it even a play action pass? Did they really do play action on 3rd and 15? No way, right? Nah, just a shotgun snap right here. You're going to see him just take a look at what's downfield. This, let me see. Yeah, Mooney's route, he's running an out and back in, so he's covered. The backside dig is covered because the problem with running max protect is that you only get 2, maybe 3 receivers overwhelming most of the time. And so Fields checks it down, and he gets it there on time. I mean, if he'd gotten it there truly late, this guy lights up. Not only does he light up Jesse James, but he might take it to the house. He takes a look, he gets the ball out there. They gain, basically nothing, but Fields is staring downfield. This is somebody that if you just want to get to know your quarterback, Justin Fields, he wants to make the big throw. And in this case, he's hanging on to the read probably a little longer than he should because he wants to make absolutely certain that there's no way to pick up this throw pick up the first down before he checks it down, because goodness knows Jesse James isn't about to pick up he's not about to pick up the first down, which is a bummer. But so, yeah, he checks it down. Whatever. Bar is pretty much, not an ideal first drive by any stretch of the imagination. And no kidding, Case. Some form of Mooney go with a backside dig is the 3rd play in the Bears playbook. They got curls. They've got, go and dig might be 2nd. And then I'd have to think of a 3rd one. Oh, they like the spot dig package with 1 curl, 1 dig over the top, and so on and so forth. And yeah, 85 is probably open. But so the key here is to remember the progression, because I do think sometimes we can get very freeze-framey, right? Where you take a look and you go, oh, Kmet's open. How does Justin not see it? And it's so Justin Fields took a look at the 1 right here, which is this double move. And then you've got A-Rob right here on 2, and then Jesse James is going to be 3, and he goes 1 to 2 to 3 in this case. But so Elon, he did have time overall, but eventually you just got to get it to your check down so that they can catch something. I don't know. Maybe he had somebody in his headset saying, "Hey, take a deep breath. You just gave up a forced fumble." But yeah, not great overall. Certainly not a good start to the football game. But the Bears actually, if memory, or like maybe we all forgot about this play, but they come back with a gorgeous play on offense, which I can't believe I'm saying. But this is one of the best executions of outside zone that they've had in this season, period. And part of it's because Khalil Herbert is awesome. But part of it's because all 11 guys all get involved. So what you're going to see, if you've not seen me draw up outside zone before, it literally looks pretty much just like everybody go left and take the first guy that you find. And Allen Robinson is going to go get his guy. Darnell Mooney's going to make a difference on his end. And Khalil Herbert's just fast. I mean, take a look at the juice that he has when he picks the football up. He takes it and he goes. And that matters because slower running backs, who are not going to be named, might very well get picked off by number 93, who rolls over right there. But Herbert just blows right by him. He's got enough speed to where he makes him not a problem in outside zone. That's part of the reason he's such a good scheme fit in an outside zone system. But I love watching this play. I mean, this is the weird vibe of this Bears team where it feels like they cannot get it like on the same page in the passing game, but on the running game they basically just run the same play over and over and over with a couple of wrinkles where they just run outside zone. They pretty much just run outside zone to the left. Like you'll see the very rare play right here where they where they'll go outside zone to the right, which would look more obviously like this with Herbert then attacking there. But both with the fadey and with in this case it's Simmons with bars, they don't like running to the right side. I can't tell if it's a Herbert preference, but he definitely gets almost all of his gains to the left side. And hey, partial credit at the very least goes to Jason Peters, who consistently seems to lock that edge off. And Herbert makes a big play after the fact. Mooney freezes his guy just enough that Herbert's able to contact him at this angle. Obviously, it's favorable to Herbert, but it is wild the stuff that he shucks through. Like right here, where he's just going to drag his man another 10 yards downfield for crying out loud. I mean, Herbert is such... There are some players, I think you guys would agree, that make easy things look hard. And Herbert is the guy that makes hard things look easy. I mean, he makes running back look like you should be picking up 100 yards on the Buccaneers on, 16 carries, if that. I mean, Herbert's a hard runner. Herbert is quick with the ball in his hands. He's decisive when it comes to finding a hole. He's not right 100% of the time, but he's right so overwhelmingly often when it comes to his instincts, and his feet are quick enough. I don't know. It's very hard for me to temper my enthusiasm on the young rookie because he is such a wonderful fit with outside zone that even let's put it this way, an offensive line that has really struggled is able to get tons of yardage behind Herbert and Montgomery. Like definitely Montgomery gets some credit too, but this outside zone system is such a fit for what Herbert does that it's hard for me to not be super amped up. So then let me take a look here. So then they run, oh gosh. So there was a lot of stuff like this. I mean, what you're about to see is the Bears get under center. It's 1st and 10, and they figure now, especially since we just got pantsed on a play action play, we're going to have to do some basic drop back passing. Like, not even a play action fake, just drop the guy back. And you're going to see Bowles in this position sends a blitzer anyways, if memory serves, and they overload the Bears. The problem is, and we'll get to this in just a second, the Buccaneers were very direct about making sure that they annihilated common protection sensibilities. So let's go through the gist of how quarterbacks set protection, right? We'll do this very quickly. If you've got any questions, say so in the chat. I'm going to just go, like, I'm going to just go very, like, I'm going to be pretty fast. But so you heard all game Fields calling R and L. So what that is it sets the protection whether you're sliding to your right or you're sliding to your left. So that's obviously R and that's obviously L. You've probably heard Derek Carr say weird things like Richard Nixon, or Mitch Trubisky used to go Larry, Larry. Other quarterbacks say Ringo, so on and so forth. But it all comes down to R and L. And the gist of that is that, so you've got, in this case, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 offensive linemen, and you have to basically measure the blitz threats in the box at this stage. And you've got to measure the blitz threats in the box and assign a protector to all of those threats, with one of them being on the quarterback if they've overloaded you. So in this case, the common way that you would point out the mic, and this is the choice I believe Fields makes, is that you would mic 45. You'd say he's the mic. So what does that mean? That means 18 is going to get 90. Well, actually, I think they're going to have an offensive lineman on 90 because he's an edge rusher. You're going to have Daniels on 68. You're going to have probably Mustafa take 45. Like, this is, again, the general way it gets drawn up. So you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with 7 being on the quarterback. So if 7 comes, you probably, like, and yes, Joe, some centers call protection. If centers comes, he's considered a free rusher by scheme, and the quarterback has to deal with it with a quick throw. So, generally speaking, this would be like, in this case, 45 is baby's first mic point. And so, like, that's the obvious choice, right? With no experience at all, that's going to be what you choose. And that's exactly why the Buccaneers drop 45 out of the picture and send 51. So when the Bears get set to protect all those guys in front of them, they end up with nobody to cover 51, and Herbert set over here ready to block somebody that is not coming in their direction. Now, lucky for Herbert, he's got something to do, because La'Javius Simmons loses very, very badly on this play. But Fields knows that he's got to deal with 51 on his own, and he does so. I mean, he deals with them. He gets out of town, makes a quick run, and picks up 1 yard. But the key here is that you're going to see this a lot on a lot of what the Buccaneers did, was that they tried to be deliberately confusing with how would we set the protection if we saw this, send the other guy. So it's called simulating pressure, if you want to know the technical word, but it's basically creating pressure by threatening to send somebody and then not sending them at all. And not sending them at all. I actually thought Herbert's blitz pickup was fine, so we don't need to get into that. The really weird part for me is I'm shocked that the Bears didn't have a hot route. Like, when you take a look at this, I'm not 100% sure what Fields was supposed to do, because you've got a vert, you've got some sort of a vert. Maybe Fields was supposed to drive it to this guy right here. That actually might make some sense, that he's got a quick out route. Nope, it's not an out route. It's a vert. So I'm not sure what Fields was supposed to do besides just leg it and run for your life. But these are the questions that I find myself asking when I start really digging into the Bears film. I'm like, what in the world? Like, it's just shocking to me that they would line up under center again. They just got blitzed on this exact play. The Buccaneers obviously want to just blitz the heck out of Justin Fields. He's a rookie. He's a rookie that got smoked and lost his helmet in the preseason, for crying out loud. Sometimes football is a simple game, and I'm shocked in this case that the Bears didn't, at the very least, have some sort of a blitz tag ready on most of their routes against the highest blitzing team in football, if memory serves, because that seems like malpractice to me, but I'm not trying to go all too crazy here. And Reinhardt, there are plenty of experienced quarterbacks, because what is this? It's not Reinhardt, it's Robert Shunning, asking, is Justin supposed to call for a hot route? Do they have predetermined hot routes that he can call for? So, yes. To go back, like, generally speaking, let's say that you've got vert, you've got deep post, and you've got an out and up, right? So, vert, 1, 2, 3. You can usually, like, experienced quarterbacks can basically tag somebody, very not dissimilar to Madden, honestly, where you can just say, okay, so you got the vert there, you got the out and up there, and you could say, hey Cole, you're hot. And so he'll change his route to basically peel around the back and give you something to throw to. But this is Justin Fields. This is a rookie. This is the world of sit hut, take a step back, look at the sidelines. They're holding up a billboard with the picture of the mascot of the Honey Nut Cheerios, like the bee thing. And I go, oh, okay, we're doing that now. Sounds good. Cheerios bee, Cheerios. All right, guys, set, hut, let's go. But so that's where I would, like, in college, communication between the sideline and the quarterback, let's say it's a little different. You can do a lot more of that. False hike, take a look at the sidelines. They've got an adjustment for us. Cool, we're doing that. And that is the world that Justin Fields came from. It wasn't the Mac Jones, to give the kid some credit. It wasn't the Mac Jones, Steve Sarkisian, I'm just going to kind of dump stuff on you offense. It was not unsophisticated, but Ryan Day had a lot of input that will take Justin Fields the requisite time it takes people to become a veteran. All I'm really saying with Fields is not that he came in underdeveloped, but that you're seeing similar struggles with Zach Wilson, with Trey Lance, with even, Trevor Lawrence. It's pretty much just Mac Jones that the outlier here, and it'll take these guys time to bake into what it looks like to be a veteran quarterback. Basically, people don't come out of college as 11-year Matt Ryan. They don't come out of college as 8-year Peyton Manning. It takes time. We don't have to wait forever, but there are some of these plays that the Bears should be making. Either way, these are the sorts of spots that I would look at and say I am very surprised personally that Justin's having to basically just make his way. Like, this is think on your feet territory, because this is not the scheme helped the quarterback. I would say this is the kind of play that Cleveland would have lit him up on at the very least. Like, credit to Justin on this play as he drops back from under center. He's aware of the blitzer and deals with it. Like, that again, don't plan the parade over this sort of thing. But he gave up 9 sacks. In this case, he drops back, he feels the pressure, he GTFOs. And that's a good step forward, like, from where he was not 4 weeks ago, for crying out loud. That is a nice step in the right direction, all things told. But so, taking a look from there, we've got, this is a bizarre play. So if you want to talk about we're getting really nitty gritty here. Like, we're going to talk about some weird stuff. So in this play that you're about to see, the Bears do, like, I'll show you the play. I want you to namely watch number 30 right here, Delaney, who, if Brian Baldinger, if I'm remembering him correctly, Brian Baldinger pointed out that this is this guy's first start ever, which is really cool because he played a great game. Like, he was all over the film. But so, if memory serves, he's going to blitz right behind Jesse James right here and basically stuff a run, because as you'll see right here, he's going to turn the guy inside. Like, so when you take a look on this play, you'll see number 30 rip right through, and when there's a defender there, suffice to say, the running back is going to choose to bang the ball up the middle. And so he does. That's where Vita Vea lives. Vita Vea ate as many Bears defender or offensive linemen as we could throw at him. And so obviously the Buccaneers are going to win this one. But how did 30 do it? How did he know? Like, how did he get straight through the tight end? So what's really cool is IMT1-2, it's easy to say Cole Kmet sucks. He should have seen this coming. But take a look at how quickly he gets off the line. Like, look at that. He's off before Cole has moved. So what did he do? Right? I think, this is something, anybody seen the movie Invincible? The Vince Papali and Mark Wahlberg. That's the name I was looking for, movie. So you may recognize a similar concept here, but I'm pretty sure that if you take a look at the footwork, you're going to see that Jesse James is cheating to his left. And I think 30 picks up on it. So he's got his feet basically right on a line. Whereas if you look at everybody else's footwork, their front foot is forward and their right foot is back. So I think 30 realizes that this guy is probably leaving. And if he leaves, follow him, because he'll take you to the ball. That's the general rule when it comes to pulling linemen, pulling tight ends, and so on and so forth. And if somebody thinks I'm crazy, please jump in and say so. Like, I have no issue with that. It does not hurt my feelings. But the only way that I think 30 sees this out is that he did a good job scouting, recognizes that Jesse James is leaning to his left, and basically just jumps in. Because what he does off the snap is just rip right through where Jesse James was going. It's like he knew he wouldn't be there and immediately just annihilates the play. So kudos to him. Obviously, you hope Jesse would mask it a little better, but so many guys across the NFL get caught cheating that you... yeah, exactly, Reinhardt. That's exactly the one. What is it? Knuckles in, knuckles out, that whole bit. But so, yeah. Cool little play right there. Immediately puts the... let me see. Like, he immediately puts the Bears in a bind where they have to. Let me see what play we're looking at here. Oh yeah, so it's 3rd and 8, second drive of the game. The Bears are already down 7-0, if memory serves. Yeah, I think they are. And unfortunately, this might be where the game ends. So I'm going to show you guys the play. Everybody's going to get their groan out. Dude, say it with me. Say it with me. And now let's talk about it. So this one really hurt to watch, like going through and watching it, because I feel like Fields does everything we ever would have wanted him to do on a pretty small ball play call, all things told, delivers an absolutely picture perfect throw into a very, very tight window, as you'll see. And Kmet doesn't come up with, what he, like, a catch he should make, and Bears punt on what would have been a very important oh gosh, hang on, be right back. Locked the wrong door, friends and fam. That's just how it goes, isn't it? We do it live. It's nothing if it's not live, right? But so, anyways, taking a look at this play, what really hurts is, so we're looking at a quarters. It at least looks like quarters. You've seen this defense get very, very popular, right? Where they want to put as a bunch of guys up here in the box. Well, you know, basically a whole bunch of off coverage. But so, let me take a breath. The Bears are going to counter it with a scissors-esque look. They're going to have somebody go vertical right here. It's not scissors. It's closer to like a deep stick, with Mooney then heading into the flat. So play calls close are going to look like that, and that, with an attempt, if we could, or like if the Bears get what they want, that this safety falls off. This guy goes with the vertical. He backs up, seeing Mooney probably wiggle and then come out into the flat, so that you create just a small little window right here for Cole Kmet. That's the intent anyways. So taking a look at what happens after the snap, you've got good enough blocking, like Peters knows it's a quick throw, Simmons knows it's a quick throw, and they've got what they want. But so from here, the Bears have it. They have all three DBs way off to the side with Cole Kmet breaking inwards. This is the pocket that they're trying to throw into, and Fields delivers the throw really well. Right on time, rears back, puts the ball in a very catchable spot so that this guy, he is ultimately going to hit Cole Kmet, but at least he's got the ability to catch the ball and then take it and fall forward for a yard, but he drops it, which is obviously not ideal. And the trouble is, IMT1, I've seen that a whole lot of people are going to look at this. I've seen them say, you got to throw to Mooney instead. The trouble is that by the time you throw to Mooney, this guy's already breaking on the flat, because that's standard what happens. Like, from here, as he's trying to release the ball, if you throw this to Mooney and have him try to turn up, maybe he gets it, but I don't think that there's any problem with throwing it at the sticks and having your Kmet fall over, or having your tight end fall forward for the yards. all you've got to do is hit this throw. And Fields would actively have to make an improper read to find Robinson. Like, you'd have to have the Madden goggles, right? Where your eyes are just seeing everything. Because he's ultimately reading this side of the play right here. To all the people saying, like, is he doing full field reads? Not really. Like, I get that there is a linebacker on Allen Robinson, but you're intentionally trying to Jimmy Kmet open specifically. You've even got Mooney moving out here to try to just get the flat triggering safety to trigger on the flat. I have no problem with this. The throw's good. I can't put this on the quarterback, honestly. Like, this to me is 100% on Kmet. I mean, look at that. Like, this is absolutely standard. That you gotta take this ball, you gotta catch it, right? I would love to make more to do over it, but this is a throw you gotta catch. Like, it's right on you, or like basic stick route. This is tight ends 101. You didn't have to go to tight end university to catch stick headed outside, and he doesn't. Oof. Like, obviously it sucks when you get hit in the face basically right afterwards, but this throw broke me even rewatching the game, for crying out loud, because this is, I think Reinhardt put it well, two hands and numbers. Like, this is not a difficult catch. It's obviously one Cole wants back, but like, first down immediately turns over, and it's like, first down turns into fourth down. The Bears punt. Now, they're lucky enough that, if memory serves, they actually get a stop here. So it doesn't hurt them that badly. But in a game against Tampa Bay, you got to be able to score, for crying out loud. I think we all know that. And in this play, like, you just got to have better than that. It's sometimes football doesn't need to be as hard as I think sometimes we can make it. And that's one where I totally hear you, IMT1. Like, I do think Cole was bracing for the hit, but old school football, you got to make the catch before you take the hit. That's one that he knew he was going to have to make a play on 3rd and 8, and I would have loved to see the Bears make a play there, because making a play was in short supply. Oh, is that the one, Akusai, where they had the returned punt, or is that the first play of the game? It might have been the first one, all things told. But so yeah, quick read here, where Fields just takes a quick look at this defender, 45, sees he's running with Jesse James, steps in, throws the ball to Kmet. Easy peasy. Like, nothing hard about it. Easy enough completion. I don't want to credit Fields with every single completion as if he wouldn't have made it, or like one way or another, but there were a lot of those little reads that I looked at and thought to myself, okay, that's solid. Like, that works, but this play hurt to see the what is this? The Buccaneers were 100% ready. They would sit in off coverage like this, which invites curls, because theoretically, if you curl on something like this, your stem should be able to get the DB to basically bail out. But if you take a look at what Delaney does on this play, you're going to see the Buccaneers had absolutely no fear. They had no fear whatsoever about the Bears running corners, or like curl routes, and so they just sat and waited for it. I mean, for crying out loud. I don't actually know whether Fields was I don't know whether Fields was just off target or what here, but either way, he was smothered, which is a bummer. But so yeah, he doesn't move at all. Like, he just sits and he waits. Fields kills into this, which hard to obviously know what the play was going to be beforehand, but this play was capital S smothered. And yes, Ryan, everybody did in fact run the exact same route. It's not just your eyes tricking you. And so unintentionally went back to the wrong play. I do think he probably picked the wrong side, Reinhardt, but there's also nothing like problematic about. So these curls tend to be, especially against cover 3, like, you got to remember that last year this exact route was how the Bears, like, with Foles, ate the Buccaneers alive, which sounds weird to say about a 19-point game, but they could have scored like 38 points had they just connected on the stuff that was in front of them. Neither here nor there. But so seriously, it's almost a disguised coverage to have your cover 3 corner just sit on the flat from this position. That's what they did, though. Like, I guess you probably wouldn't call it I guess they just bait the single side wide receiver in isolation into a curl route like this so that they could just sit on it. But yeah, I mean, it's beat the young corner in his first start from an offensive perspective, but he gives Mooney's deep threat ability absolutely zero. Like, well, actually, this is interesting. So if you take a look at what the safety's doing, it looks like the safety is bailing out of this spot. So he was right here. I'll just show it to you so that you can see it too. But so, like, if you, yeah, exactly. Bulls learned, Nagy didn't. So you're looking at a safety who's sitting in the deep middle, and if it's standard cover 3, he's just going to sit there. But when you watch this, he's going to move over to take the top away from Mooney. So he's got that box, if you will, with the corner getting the box underneath. So he's just sitting there waiting for it, whatever it is that the Bears want in this case. And Fields takes a look at the corner and just throw. I don't even know if he looks at the corner per se. Fields' job on this kind of throw is to just throw it. Like, he takes a look at the linebacker to try to hold the safety, which is standard fare. Like, it's how it's taught. I mean, not every throw in quarterbacking is a read. Some of them are truly just take the snap and throw the ball kinds of plays. And this is a trust throw, and it is, let's just say, untrustworthy. But the Buccaneers were putting the clamps on the Bears basically all game long, and this was like just the start of it. Super predetermined. There's nothing wrong with it on Fields' perspective. Like, if anything, like I think it was Akusai was saying, maybe he just threw the ball out to space on purpose, because he takes one glance, right? Like, all Fields really gets as far as seeing the route, right, is the moment. Okay, so here's the kill. I'm going to pause it on this state right here. But so Fields takes the snap. That's his first glance at the receiver. So I wouldn't be surprised if once he saw this, like, immediately you just got to get the ball out however you can. You're in the middle of your throwing windup, so you send that thing out where maybe your guy can break outwards and go get the ball, but he obviously doesn't. And so Bears take an incompletion that they're happy that it's not worse. But as a Bears fan, I know you're sitting there watching this game like, ugh, this isn't good. And it wasn't. I mean, Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers were putting the hurt on the Bears. And here's the play that I personally think drew some ire for sure, but this was the really sad one, in my opinion, because this is one of the first plays that I can really put on Fields, and I feel so bad having to put it on him because I think he does almost everything right, all things told. And yes, this is the legendary play that I'm sure you've heard the presser immediately Fields said afterwards, that this is the play where he got told in the headset that he's got to snap it quickly because they've quote unquote got 12 guys on the field. They don't. Let's go ahead and count. They've got 11. I don't even see anybody running off, like in this case. But so you're looking at him snapping the ball, and we've got, maybe they thought 58 was still on the field, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I can't believe I had to count this, but I did. But so you've got 11 guys on the field. Marquise Goodwin doesn't hear the play, like Allen Robinson told us that today. Allen Robinson's barely checking into the play, and they're going to run. People are wondering where all the slants are. They're going to run slant, slant. I have no idea what Marquise Goodwin does here. Like, I don't know if he even hears the play call. Maybe it was supposed to be a slant. Maybe it was supposed to be a better curl than the one that he ran. But either way, it's bad. Like, Marquise Goodwin barely gets off the line by the time he turns around. Maybe he's open-ish, but you've got a defender crashing down on him. I think Allen Robinson might have been the look that Fields could have thrown right here, because you've got 45 potentially tied up with Cole Kmet. So I might have looked to that area, but it looks as if Fields takes a second to stare at, like, Allen Robinson specifically, and then motions off to Goodwin that if you want to grade him really, really hard in this case, like, he takes a look at 45 sitting right there and immediately thinks, okay, check to Goodwin. If anything, you could almost make the argument, I think, that he got through his read maybe too quickly, but I truly can't tell. Like, this is just a messy play, all things told. And what happens to me that frankly matters more is right here, where Fields hard pump fakes, I think, to just try to draw some defenders into that area, and then jets out of the pocket in a way that only a first-round pick can, more or less. Like, what should be a sack isn't a sack. Not only is it not a sack, but Fields immediately plays draw and dump with with Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, who are like 20 yards downfield from him, with number 30, who's attacking downhill. Like, maybe Fields thinks it's a free play. Maybe he said so after the fact. But either way, like, in this case, Fields sees that he can stare at Mooney, and I'll show it to you in just a little bit, draw 30 to him, and then I think he tries to stick the ball on 12. I think so. Like, I think he's trying to dot the ball to Allen Robinson. Either that, or he's somehow trying to heave the ball to God knows where. Like, all the way to Kingdom Come, and doesn't get it nearly close. But, so, either way, he lets the ball go right here, and he doesn't step into it. He kind of just floats the ball off of his hand, which again has me thinking it's intended for Allen, who's got tons of space. And apologies for lag. Hopefully it'll stabilize here in a little bit. But so but as the throw ultimately careens through the air, it's too far and it gets picked off, which is a real bummer. Like, it's a real shame in my opinion, because like, I think he did so many things well on this play that it just bums me out that he ultimately threw a pick on what I thought was a good idea. I mean, these are the awesome. Glad to hear that the stream kind of came back together. These are the sorts of ideas. These are the sorts of plays that we've been begging for in Chicago for eons. Dead play all around. Like covered. You got nothing, right? So it's 3rd and 5, and you just need your quarterback to make some magic happen, right? And so I actually think Akusai was too far downfield. Inside isn't a problem, but so he survives a tackle. He gets the ball out, and he gets the ball, or he gets out of the pocket, extends the play, finds the guy with space, gets 30 in a bind right here, and immediately chucks the ball. And I really just think, like, if I got to be nitpicky, just stick the ball on him, like, let him go right there. Put the ball right there, let A-Rob wait on it, and you get, what is that, a 25-yard gain? Like, you're still a massive, no, it's a 20-yard gain because they're at the 5-yard line. But you ultimately, you get big yardage either way. You don't necessarily need to fade the wide receiver back, because this is the second time we've seen an incompletion off a wide receiver, or I guess a receiver, at a position, and then he fades backwards and so on and so forth. But exactly like you're saying, Reinhardt, I mean, I love the idea. I hope he continues to do it, right? Like, looking for the throw downfield rather than looking to run, big plus. To the people that are saying that I would rather he run the ball, I would rather he doesn't, because I don't think that Fields' gift is running the ball. I think it's being exactly the mobile quarterback that you see him trying to be in this play. Somebody was saying trying to get the ball to 24. If you theoretically had the utterly magical arm that Josh Allen or Mahomes does, that you could throw from a one-footed position to, you probably have to throw the ball to like the 15 to make sure that you completed it correctly. Maybe you could like throw it hard sideways, and maybe that's what Fields was trying to do. I don't want to believe that Fields somehow thought that he could lug the ball that far, but you never know with a young quarterback. But so, man in his face, I think he just tried to stick it to Robinson, a little bit too far, and that's why they're having all these Zoom meetings. But it's Fields' first pick of the day, which is a real shame, because these are the kinds of plays that I think can make Fields special. I would even go so far as to say will ultimately make Fields special, but obviously you've got to hit the throw, because when you don't hit the throw, it's a pick. And you can't be throwing picks in the NFL. As we're seeing, these are drawing comments like Mahomes don't look like Mahomes this year, and that's just like, when Mahomes is getting those kinds of comments, it's because he's throwing too many interceptions and trying to throw too many, and you got to keep those down. You get the idea. Like, it is a tough throw. The chaos, like, there's tons of this stuff, like Kyle, that I would look at and say, I don't want to sound like I'm just hammering the kid. Like, I can't score the play well. What I can say is that Fields, like, the props that I will give him, and apologies to anybody who's saying that it is, like, that it's stuttering. Like, I would tell you, and true, you're looking at 24. What you mean, right? Like way downfield. I really don't think that's realistic. I really don't. But so the big key here that I would look at is Fields took a dead play with everybody covered right there and created something out of nothing that got two guys into open space and ultimately jimmied open a very good throwing window. He just missed the throw. And so hopefully the mental edge stays there and the physical mistake fixes. We'll see, though. Like, obviously, this is one of those things that if it becomes a habit, if he continues to throw interceptions with where he misses wide receivers on these jailbreak plays, that's a problem. But at the same time, I mean, Allen Robinson said it himself. We've said it on this channel a couple times. It hurts when you remember how few and far between reps with the ones were within the Bears training camp for Justin Fields, which hurts. I mean, those are the kinds of plays that, so yes, you've got 4 weeks of practice, but you've got 4 weeks of installs, all things told, where you're working within the framework of the offense, and Fields is enough to work on as a rookie, whether it's protection calls and so on and so forth, that I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears aren't trying to work on scramble drill. So, BG Bears fan, as far as why not throw to Mooney, he kind of, he doesn't, I wouldn't say he tries to, but right here you can clearly see that Fields is looking at Mooney. And I think the key here is that he's trying to draw 30 to him, thinking that he can get the ball to Allen Robinson. But right here, he can't just dot the ball to Robinson or 30 breaks on that. Like 30 kind of has right of refusal at this point. He's got to make him commit. So I don't think nothing's there. That's the key. Like, he creates a play because he gets 30 to bite on Mooney and then lets the ball go to the now open Robinson, but you got to hit the ball, or you got to hit the throw. And yes, Reinhardt, it is third down. So throwing the ball away doesn't help you. It still turns it over. Obviously, again, you can't I would tell you that you can't be afraid of interceptions. Like, when it comes to making plays, that everything is in football is a game of inches. Like, you take this throw from your quarterback 10 times out of 10, in my opinion, especially with somebody as accurate as Fields, but he's got to hit the throw. This is very similar. This is not dissimilar to that Lions play where he spun out beautifully and then put the ball downfield for Cole Kmet, and either Kmet didn't quite move right or Fields may have missed the throw a little bit. You make the call, but either way, Fields is 0 for 2, but I've loved both ideas and am willing to wait and give him a couple more chances with plays like this, because these are the sorts of things that pull offenses out of the muck. Remember, it's kind of similar to that play that Fields had against the Packers, was it? But so, like, yeah, exactly, Case. If he did throw it to Herbert, throw it up to Herbert, throw it where 30 doesn't go. Yeah, I think maybe there's a little bit of that, but either way, if it is to Herbert, it's obviously like 30 yards under, but meh. Well, anyways, getting back to it, I do think that ultimately this is making the preseason look awfully mishandled. I don't want to kill the preseason too hard because that doesn't really matter in this case, but it's a huge bummer when you watch this team just knowing that Fields ended up starting just like everybody kind of expected he would. I mean, even I was expecting, like, it'll be week 4. So I'm a little surprised in this case that it would, or that I would expect, or I'm just surprised, apologies for stuttering, that the Bears didn't at least find ways, whether it was to pretend it was an open competition, whether it was we know he's going to play eventually. Like, I would rather see, I'm just shocked that Fields didn't get any experience throwing to the number 1 wide receivers when everybody ultimately knew it was going to matter. But so, yeah, who knows? Like, anyways, so then from there, Fields makes a nice little call on this RPO, which you wouldn't think, well, you're probably going to realize it was an RPO. He's reading 51 here, where you're going to see 51 backs off, and so Fields gives the ball. And Herbert gets like 4 or 5 yards out of it. Decent, so on and so forth. But so, right? I do think it's absolutely hilarious, Reinhardt, that the John Fox offense looks so much healthier, all things told, than this Matt Nagy offense does right now with Justin Fields in. But so then basic handoff, so on and so forth. And yeah, exactly. I mean, Dalton did get all those reps for just those, like 40 yards. And Stacy, it wouldn't surprise me if I ultimately think what you're saying right there about Justin expecting A-Rob to sit on the numbers, like whatever it is, I do think the two were off, not on the same page. And that's the key, right? But so the Bears get a decent drive going. I love this play. It's simple, right? But so what you're going to see, again, don't plan the parade, but the Bears go play action. Fields wants A-Rob right here on a deep dig. He's got Mooney heading out to the corner just in case with, looks like Khalil Herbert is the check down right here. But if you can take a look at Latavius Simmons right now, getting beat by Shaq Barrett, Fields takes a look, says, there's no way this play comes to completion, and just dishes the ball. Bears get 5 yards. Fields doesn't take a sack, like off of a play that had no shot when it came to the way it was going to work. But credit to Fields, he recognized the situation. You'll see it again right here. So you're watching Big Key is 58 and 73. Latavius Simmons, oof, right? But so Simmons beats his guy, and Fields gets the ball out before it matters. Like, credit to, again, Fields for reading this, because the throw would basically need to be coming out, maybe not right now, but the read is Allen Robinson, who's only just now turning his head. And so at this point, Fields has already moved to the check down because he's seen 30 fade back with him. So he knows that he's got the check down open should he want it. And with 58 bringing pressure, it's better to do that than take a sack on 1st and 5. Like, yes, Simmons got beat like a drum. I would argue Coward might have been better than Latavius Simmons on this specific day. And yes, Ryan, so on every time we do a freeze frame, there's almost always going to be somebody who points out, like, almost every time you're going to go, oh, well, Mooney's corner's wide open. I mean, yes, but at the same time, Fields hasn't gotten through his Allen Robinson read just yet. Maybe there's a pick aside aspect to this, but wait, so let's see. Oh yeah, Mooney doesn't take the corner. He just sits down. Look at that. It's a corner curl. So I don't know why Mooney sits either case. You would think that the corner would be open in this setup, but yeah, exactly, Reinhard. You think it's going to be something good, and then it turns out it's a curl. But so, or what is it, a 7 stop, I think J.C. O'Sullivan calls it. But so, yeah, Fields gets through his read enough, dishes the ball on 1st and 10, and the Bears live to see a 2nd and 5. It's a successful play. It's something he didn't do against Cleveland. It's legitimate development. I mean, this is not the sort of thing that wins a Super Bowl. Well, technically it is. But the point is, I know that we're not looking to see, oh, wow, he took a look downfield, realized that a look wasn't there, and hit the check down. Development. Like, I know this is not the gold star stuff that anybody cares about, right? Like, we don't want to see at this setup that, or like at this stage, we want to see deeper completions. We want to see the interception we just covered be a completion. Like, we want to see more than just a quarterback not taking a sack. But remember, the Cleveland game is the best corollary we're going to get to this one. And so, hey, credit to him. Like, A-Rob turns around and just stops more than anything. Like, he just sees that the ball's not coming to him and just sort of gears down. But so, yeah, this is really, again, I don't want to make it bigger than it is. It's just nice. It's a good step forward. I don't know that this would have been a sack, but I do think that Fields is obviously more aware of pressure than he seemed to be in that first game. And that matters. Like, it's a good little tiny step forward. And then brace yourselves, because this one's ugly. I'll just say that before, so now you've got time to cover your eyes. You can go get a drink, because here comes this is a bad run. But next up is the forced fumble. So memory serves on this one, not Mustafa. Couldn't possibly be Mustafa getting absolutely turned inside. And so Herbert trips over him, falls to the ground. Bad run. But so not ideal. It's not as if every single offensive line issue is pinnable on Samuel Mustafa. Like, not necessarily, for crying out loud, but this is definitely not a good one on, I think it was 93, Willie Golston, who, like, turns him I don't want to say like inside out, but he takes leverage and immediately soaks up what could have been a decent hole for like 4 yards into a gain of 0. And then we get the forced fumble. And it's not good. Like, if memory serves, this is the one where he gets hit so fast that it is just mind-blowing. I timed this at one point. What I saw was, no, I timed the other one. But so we could take a look right here. But the time it takes from when he catches the ball to when he gets strip sacked is way less than 2.5 seconds at the very least. Looks like just visually about 2.3. So way less, maybe a little bit too strong there. But you're obviously trying to basically look through, you're trying to give more time on a play like this than the absolute minimum, all things told. And Adrian, great to see you. But so 93 is Sue. Thank you. I must have forgotten what it was going to look like. But so the trouble here is Fields technically could step in and drive this throw immediately. I think Robinson's running some kind of an option route. That's the only thing that I, by the way, can make the assumption is what's going on here, because Fields stares at it and gives it one beat and one beat only before winding up and getting the ball out. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Robinson wanted to, he's able to go basically a whole bunch of directions with this, where maybe he could curl, he could snag it outside, he could carry it into somewhere else. It's not uncommon to give your best receiver an option route in this case on third down, or I think it's even a second down, so that you can just try to get something, right? And Adrian, I would tell you that Allen Robinson and Fields definitely don't seem to be clicking, but this play is not a good example of that. Like, Fields gives it one beat and one beat only before ultimately getting strip sacked. I have trouble faulting a rookie with this, for crying out loud. Like, hits the back of his drop, exactly one hitch, and gets hit trying to get the ball out. Like, this hurts. This hurts to watch. When we think about rookie hospitality and how to grow a rookie within a franchise, this is not it. Here we've got him just passing him off to Fields, all things told. Like, this is rough. Very, very bad. And exactly like you're saying, Reinhardt, I mean, standard quick time to release, like, unless you're Andy Dalton trying to get the ball out, like, he would have to basically throw the ball right now, and that's at Allen Robinson's very first turn. So it'd have to be a pretty much perfect anticipation throw, and that's if he assumed that Robinson was sitting down. I don't know that it's an option route. I'm just guessing. The Bears call so many option routes that I've just gotten used to it at this point. But it's not good, that's for sure. And the Bears give their second turnover over to the Buccaneers, who immediately take it back to the house. Like, thank you so much, Jason Records. You have no idea how much that means. I'm glad you're enjoying it, even as we talk through a rough game of football. But so, yeah, I mean, the curl jokes never get old, by the way. Curls, the only route you'll ever need. But so, Szechuan Palace, great seeing you. You're the first one to hit the subscriber goal thing. I turned it into a subscriber goal because I felt like the super chat wasn't working near as well with donations and whatnot. So we will figure out a stream overlay that works out, but I figured that at least gave us something that counts a little bit better, because it always bummed me out watching folks donate $5 and the donation counter wouldn't move. But that's a little bit of stream jargon as we get into this. So they lose a forced fumble, which is real sad, but nothing weird or nothing new about that. You remember that one, right? And yeah, IMT1 73 lost. I mean, immediately. But so now we get to the next drive. Bears are going to open up with a tight end screen right here. We'll try to get through at least some of the plays fairly quickly. Just a quick little floater. It's hard for me to say whether Fields like won or lost on this one, or not Fields, sorry, Whitehair, 60 or 75 or 65, gracious, but he definitely doesn't drive White backwards, and he doesn't drive him far enough over. So I would think that this kind of goes on Whitehair, but yet again, it's just another screen that like totally doesn't work. I mean, it is hilarious watching how many Bears screens it feel like we get the guy to the ball, and then they immediately just boom, like go right down. And yes, Adrian, this is like some flu game vibes, right? Where little on the sick side, but we're going to plow through it to at least talk through a real heck of a game, right? But so, first quarter turns over. Let me make sure I know where we are as we go through it. So, yeah, this is yet another like simple little read. It's not a big deal, all things told, seriously, but you're going to see he takes a look here, he being Fields. He identifies Devin White. So I think he decides that he's not going to take Cole Kmet right there. He then looks at 33, makes him pick a side. If he defends Mooney, he's going to get the ball out into the flat against this cover 3 defense. If he goes for the flat, he's obviously going to distribute the ball to Mooney. So he takes a look at 33. He sticks with Mooney. He gets the ball to Damian Williams for a gain of 3 yards. It would have been, I think Kmet waiting, Joe, exactly like you're saying, would have probably helped him out, all things told. But so, let me see. Yeah, I do wonder, as I watch this one, whether Fields could have potentially threaded this ball to Kmet. I'm going to be really intrigued to see what they have to say in the film room, because I feel like Devin White drops from his spot here to a hips open that way setup, but looking at this, with that in mind, I feel like Kmet, who's running kind of a skinny post, frankly, that's a little too aggressive. It looks more like that. He might just have a window to thread this thing in. So I'm not sure about that, but maybe he gets nervous by 33, functionally sitting in the passing lane, thinking that is going to be too heavy a line. I don't know. We'll leave that up to John DeFilippo and the actual coaching room who's going to go through it. But either way, it's always nice to see Fields' eyes move. This is not a play that you're going to make a bust out of, but second and 5 becomes 3rd and 2. So it's better, right? I really do appreciate seeing Fields develop in the quick game. The quick game and whatnot is going to be, I don't want to call the quick game, which is Fields' worst part, right? It's more or less his worst spot, but I would tell you that it's not going to be an area where you're going to see the difference with Justin Fields, that he's not going to suddenly become a quick game god. But I will tell you that the better he gets at that little stuff, no matter what offense it is, if it's Brian Daboll's offense, if it's Greg Roman's offense, if it's Joe Brady's offense, if it's what's the guy's name? I can never remember the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator's name off the top of my head, but whoever it is that comes over and eventually coaches the Bears, because I'm definitely pretty much done with Matt Nagy overall. Justin Fields' developments here in just making quick little reads, left twitch, thank you Akusai, are going to help him no matter what it is. Sure, you have to change what the read is or where you're looking to open the play up, but you get the idea. But so I will talk about that, BG Bears fan, in a little while, probably at the later end of the stream, but that's a great question. But so here is another play that hurts to watch. I don't even think it's that bad of a throw by Fields, just to be plain, because it goes off of Mooney's fingertips. Could he have made the catch? Probably, maybe, but let's talk through why seeing this made me cringe, for very different reasons than the Kmet one. I want you to watch when Fields releases this ball. So we just saw him take a strip sack, right? Where he just got strip sacked on a play where maybe he could have thrown the ball with perfect anticipation, but his line gave him nothing, right? And he took problem. And so here, as he drops back, he's going to let go of this ball way before Mooney ever turns around. It is very clear anticipation, because Fields sees 96 coming straight through the line and thinks this ball has got to come out. So it does. He throws it. Mooney turns around and settles into an area where they must have miscommunicated on where he was going. Either that, or it's just not that accurate a throw. But you make the call, Bears fans. Is it or folks in the chat, I guess. You don't have to be a Bears fan. But anyways, is it a drop? Is it a bad throw? You make the decision. But either way, it was hilarious, if you will, seeing this anticipation throw that ends up also incomplete. So 3rd and 2. perfect anticipation throw isn't right on Mooney's numbers, and the question goes, what's going on? And exactly like you're saying, Case, I do think it's ultimately, if I had to, or what is the word? Like, if I had to put it on anything, I would say both of these guys have different ideas on where the ball's supposed to go. And so I find myself just frustrated, if anything else, for Fields, because it feels like nothing. There's not a single thing in this offense that Fields can do to find a rhythm or get anything easy. Like, even here, it's an ideal anticipation throw in terms of when he's releasing the ball. But it's not a throw like, yeah, it's a hole in the defense. I wouldn't call this triple coverage. Somebody said that. Like, you've got this hole right here where nobody's specifically looking at Mooney, maybe 35, but he's so far back that it's really not a big deal. But exactly, iGhost, like, this is another one of those spots where maybe preseason reps would have helped, because you've got OTAs plus 6 weeks of training camp where you could have just repped this stuff out, and they didn't. Now they're having to have Zoom meetings to catch up, which really bugs me, because Fields, I mean, yes, Dalton got injured week 2, but if rumors on Twitter are to be believed, I mean, for crying out loud, it seems as if Fields was going to be the starter for a significant portion of the year anyways. I don't know. It really bothers me at this stage that the Bears seem to be so on different pages. And like Case is saying, I do think it's important to take a look at it from this view right here, because yes, Mooney maybe could have made the catch, but it would have been a tough one. I mean, he and Fields are obviously in different places, but exactly. I mean, it was, folks are talking about offensive output. I can't agree more. I mean, it is sad watching the Bears go up against bad secondary after bad secondary after bad secondary. And here they have 3 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles, for crying out loud. And they lose 2 of them. So 5 turnovers against the Tampa Bay secondary that is really reeling right now. But things may get better. I'll talk about that in a little bit, or like as we get through the game. But so Bears play San Francisco 49ers this week. But so let's move on to the next one, which I think it's fair to say that everybody here loves Khalil Herbert. How could you not? And he makes another nice play right here. But so let me see. Reinhardt, what do you mean when you say Mike Evans aligned half yard off? Was he aligned a half yard off at one point? Or do you mean like if he's in the wrong spot, it can make the difference with like a different play, so on and so forth? Just let me know, because when I read that, I don't immediately know what you mean. But yeah, Herbert is a whole ball of fun when it comes to running back. We'll let him just... Oh, no, I didn't miss one. But so, just a quick one-cut run there. I'll just show it one more time, because I really appreciate watching Herbert in this case, where he just takes this run, recognizes, okay, I've got a hole, so at full speed, just changes it, cuts it up, turns, who knows, into like 6 yards. So, thumbs up all around, and now it's like 2nd and 4. Let me let the tape roll a little bit. Oh, this one's an easy one. Quick decision, roll out. Free yardage, as close to free yardage as you're going to get in the NFL. Just, I mean, nice and easy. You don't need a bunch of analysis from me here, where maybe the Bears could do more rollouts, but goodness knows they got smoked on a couple of sacks. Either way, mixing these in here and there, try to help Fields get those, like, get extra completions. Because when you're able to go through that motion of rolling out, throwing, finding your target, I do think it helps players get in a rhythm, all things told. But as you're seeing, there are a ton of these that are just super closed down, where on this play right here, they're going for more of a spot dig kind of route package, but Jason Pierre-Paul is going to beat Lachavious Simmons right here, so Fields checks it down yet again. This one gains like 2, I think. But so Bears were running like a double post setup, where they were going to have Robinson obviously running like a post set with Fields throwing to Herbert underneath, and he almost gets cooked anyways. Like, he gets the ball out. I think that one would have been a sack in like against Cleveland, but yeah, like that one hurts. Or it hurts in like the what have we done to Justin Fields kind of setup. John, it is going to be really interesting to see what happens when Mooney, Cohen, and Herbert all end up together healthy. If they do, gosh, I hope that Cohen can come back. And yes, Flames, I think Herbert is going to continue to produce. Nothing he's doing is flash the pan. It's not even lucky. It's been good outside zone running. Like, nothing fancy about it. Just hit the hole hard and go. But so, let me see here. Oh, man. Oh, no. This is another fumble, isn't it? Yes. Hurts. But so, yes, Case. Fight me. But so, what stunk about this one, I timed this one at 1.9 seconds from snap hitting hand to fumble. Like, what hurts here is that when you watch this play, the Bears have this tendency. If you want to hit them for a tendency, they really like throwing to Allen Robinson on third down, which, why wouldn't you? You're paying the guy $17 million. So, of course, you're going to try at the very least. And so he's going to run, I think it's a curl, as a matter of fact. And so is Jesse James, who is, oh gosh, we're on the right play, aren't we? But so, let me see. Yep. Jesse, who's attached to the tight end right there, sneaks out to about there, like, boom. And so Robinson runs an in. Thank you. Where I had to just quickly remember what was going on. And Fields is going to take a peek at Robinson before working back to Jesse James, who's certainly not, like, in the spot to be staring him down. And by the time he goes to start throwing to Jesse James, who's his second read, and it's open, like would have been a first down, he's hit because the right tackle literally didn't practice at all. And so, like, I can't believe Jason Peters actually said that. He got 0 reps. I mean, I was talking to high school coaches that said that they practice, 8th graders practice 2 to 3 guys deep, where they say, what if he gets hurt? Are you ready? And so on and so forth. Like, this, oh gosh. I mean, watching this sort of thing, I am really curious to see how much these kinds of plays are going to weigh on Fields, because he gets back to where he needs to be, like in this this progression, and he makes the throw that we want him to make, which would extend the drive, which would inflate his stat totals, so on and so forth, help us score points, but he can't get there because Latavius Simmons gets so badly burned by Jason Pierre-Paul. I mean, PFF gave him a 0. PFF, for what it's worth, graded him a 0. They graded Latavius Simmons on pass blocking as a 0. What do I have to say? Like, you don't even have to like Pro Football Focus, all things told. They gave him a 0 on the day overall. It was hilarious. Yeah, it's real. It's real, I Ghost. I mean, like, you take a look at this play, and it's just, I mean, he steps out, he puts his hands on him, he says, tag, you're it, and JPP runs right through and uses this deadly weapon he's got on his right hand to just slap the ball out. I mean, I want to see Fields play better too. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's tons of this stuff that I would look at and I would say, yeah, we've talked in this stream that I think Fields is developing even amidst all of this. And everybody, if you can't tell, has bad throws here and there, for crying out loud. Like, what is this? So like here and there, you could make the argument. I mean, Roquan's sitting right there, so maybe not, or maybe not. But so, like, Brady, no, I don't want to pin this on Brady. That's kind of stupid. Bad point. But so anyways, let me see. Akusai, I agree. This is Fields' 5th fumble, I think. Like, I want to see Fields hang on to the ball better. I really do. But at the same time, I want to see the Bears protect for at least a reasonable number as he develops. But either way, definitely the Daniel Jones thing, where I would look at Fields and say, okay, you do have to know that you've got to get the ball out sometimes. And in this game, we've already seen, at least I think, probably on the order of 2, maybe 3 plays that I think in Cleveland he might have given up a sack or at least a a pressure, but he gets the ball out. So there is development. It's just turning into incompletions and 5-yard gains instead of sacks sometimes, which hurts. But enough about that. So let's get back to offense as we go. Yeah, they scored, surprise. But so Bears lineup. Sometimes I don't understand how any of this works. Oh, they missed a field goal. That's what happened. Because I was like, where's the kickoff? There's no way I've got this in my notes correctly. But so, is it really 7 or 8? Seriously? Because I'm remembering one in the Lions game, one in the... Was it in the Cincy game? But let me see. But so, yeah, one in the Lions game, one in the Cincinnati game, obviously 3 in this game. I don't think he had a forced fumble in the Raiders, for instance. But take a look at Pro Football Focus. Let me know what's going on. But so, yeah, no, John, he didn't even get points for putting his name on the test. But so here, the Bears go full max protect. I mean, 1, 2. Well, he's obviously releasing now. But so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pass protectors. Also, Mooney can do that. And finally, we get a decent play, right? Where Fields has time, steps into his pocket, got plenty of it, lets the ball loose, and it's ideal. I mean, yay. No, Pro Football Reference, Reinhardt. You don't have to, like, you could check his forced fumbles for free. It's easy. But so, anyways, like, it is... it hurts watching plays like this, if only because we've been crying for what feels like years about receivers getting open and the quarterback needing to hit the throw. And here, Fields obviously hits it. It's just a crying shame that we can't generate more of these opportunities, at least in my perspective, where Mooney gets the ball, quick 20-yard gain. It just took full max protect to make it happen, which is obviously a bummer, all things told. I would love the Bears to get into this kind of thing easier than having to defend with everyone, right? 6 total. I had a feeling I was missing one. But so, yeah, 4 games out of 5. That's a forced fumble in, which is not good. But so, Bears get the big play, and I mean, hey, Fields will start to drive off for you. So he picks up, I think, 17 yards on that long gainer, and immediately they get yet another nice run from Khalil Herbert, who just dispenses with 2 tacklers. I mean, this is so much fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. Montgomery breaking tackles is a different kind of awesome, but here you've got a guy who just gives you that feeling of a freight train who's just roaring downhill, and because he's just moving basically with too much force, guys seem to really struggle to wrap him up, especially when he gets going. He's not exactly trying to slip out of tackles. He's just got good balance, and so he keeps up with it. Bears go play action from here. Absolutely nothing is open. Like, nothing at all from this setup is open. Even Kmet's covered. Like, the only question that I have on these kinds of plays is the quarterback actually allowed to throw the ball back over to Herbert? Like, it would be kind of wild, all things told, if he could. But those throwbacks are always a question for me. But let me see. So then Fields is just going to take this ball straight up the gut, pick up 4 yards. I think maybe even 5. Let's see. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards? Really? Oh, well, I'm counting that one, so don't count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish yards off of the rollout. So good play overall for the Bears. But, yeah, nothing open to throw to. That's for sure. Let me take a little. But we can't go through. Man, I love going through every play with y'all. It just takes a while. But so, I think Herbert may get another one here. Let's see. Yeah, look at him go. Are you kidding me? Like, goodness gracious. In this case, you've got a great little block by Whitehair. Daniels does a good job helping. Bars even chips in. And from there, it's just the Khalil Herbert show. As you've got nice block right there. What is it? And then maybe Peters. But You've got enough from Daniels and Mustafer to get Herbert squeezing through this little window right there. Breaks through a Vita Vea tackle, for crying out loud, and just keeps on chugging. Enough. Break. Fun. I love watching a good running back. Khalil Herbert really makes running back look easy. I mean, it's just nice. And then he takes another one. It's another like 5 yards. Just keep feeding him the rock. I mean, not truly, but yeah, the O-line clearly loves run blocking. Not only that, but if you can't tell, the Bears get almost all of their run blocking yardage going left, which is hilarious, but it's true. Here they go. I think it's like, it's not true trap, but they just get a quick run out there, pick up another 4 yards. We could go through it, but an hour and a half through, and we haven't hit the second half yet. Actually, there's not that much to cover in the second half, thank goodness, because we're really going through the meat and potatoes of it. But so, on 2nd and 4, Fields delivers a nice low ball. Whether you think it's too low or not, I don't, all things told. Because on these curls, you're trying to keep the throw low enough. I was shocked when I found this out the first time, but you generally want, as a quarterback, to keep the throw low enough that the receiver can get down for it and pick up the yardage without any chance of the DB getting involved. So the DB would basically have to dive on almost the ground to knock the ball away, which is generally why you see the throw try to keep the receiver safe. So here, for instance, A-Rob doesn't have to get lit up. There's no real shot at him dropping this ball as long as he gets his hands under it, and the Bears pick up first down. Don't put Fields in the Hall of Fame, but it's a simple play, helps him pick up the first down. Akusai, if we did call a timeout that killed the momentum, it's not in the All-22, and I tend to block those out. Maybe. Other Bears fans that remember, feel free to throw that in there, because they don't throw the timeouts into the All-22 package, and that generally means I didn't see it. It might have even been right there. There's a decent chance. But so this one puzzled me when I first saw it, because it feels like this might have been a designed QB run that Fields didn't like the look of. I don't say that without grounds. With Kmet peeling across, what is this? Jesse James stepping in to 39 and Mooney getting out. Even James looking confused, all things told, afterwards. Part of me wonders, like, I think it is also, like, you see Kmet kind of turn around like, wait, what are we doing? That maybe this was, that this was a Justin Fields run, but I'm not sure. Derek, it's so true, though, that momentum-killing timeouts are just a huge part of the Nagy offense. Like, they just fit right in. We don't even catch them anymore. But, so now 2nd and 10. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. This is a play that I thought was hilarious, because Nagy and Tony Romo gave Fields credit for throwing the ball away. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's been a rough day, but it was this rough of a day where they credited Fields for taking the sprint out where it wasn't there, and we'll go through what the play call was. And just because he didn't try to float the ball to Robinson and do too much, he ended up getting a pat on the back, which, if that doesn't describe basically what this day was, I don't know what to tell you. Like, so this play call is basically Darnell Mooney, if memory serves, he's going to run a post. He does something to clear out this corner. Who cares? Like, we'll get there. While Damiere Byrd is going to run a wheel route that turns into an out. So that's really all it is, where he's going to get the ball to the sideline and then kick it out. But as you're going to see what happens, like Akusai, Jesse James is supposed to keep 45, Devin White, out of the play, and he fails to do so. So Justin is basically just waiting on Damiere Byrd at this point, because he released inside. He's going to go up to about right here, and he's going to kick out for a quick throw that goes from basically right about there to the pylon. Bears have run this all of the time. Like, because 10 ends up running to the end zone. And don't get me wrong, it's not like he gets crazy separation, but where was the throw? Well, if we back it up just a little bit, you'll see, because this, man, it feels like the Bears can't do anything right. At least in this game, they certainly couldn't do anything right. 43, not 45, ends up pushing James back just enough that by the time Fields wants to throw it, he's not only taken Jesse to the ground, but he's gotten himself into the throwing lane. Like, Justin's trying to throw to there, and 43 is very much within that, like, pathway. So Fields tries to move away from it at this point, and it's a sprint out IMT1. Nobody tends to, like, when you're moving right, look all the way back for 12. It's a very dangerous throw, generally speaking. But so the throw is 100% to Damiere Byrd right here, and it's not there. Like, you've got this guy, Jesse James can't quite keep the guy down enough, but so 43 rolls out, gets very much in the way, and Fields just has to get rid of the ball. Suffice to say, there's not a ton of this stuff that Fields could have done, I think anyways, wildly different and reaped some kind of massively better result. Like, there are some plays, we've already talked about them, that I think Fields could have been better on. I mean, certainly the interception comes to mind, but this was the wrong game, in my opinion, to be really skewering Fields, who I actually think looked much more like a not sophisticated, but developing rookie than he did, certainly against Cleveland. But it wouldn't surprise me if a legitimate breakout game is coming. In fact, if it doesn't in here in a couple weeks, you're going to hear me actively worried. Like, I will be pretty patient. Fields has got, at least throughout this year, probably a whole nother year, like with an off season and longer to really do anything in my eyes. But man, it feels like then you get plays like this where, I mean, Fields hits the back of his drop, releases the ball, and ooh, is it a little too far out? Maybe. Did Horsted mistime his jump? Maybe. Like, should it have been Horsted and not Kmet? Maybe. Like you're saying, Akusai, fade to Horsted. I don't love the play call on 3rd and 10. It feels kind of similar to giving up. Very, very weird. But could Horsted have made the play? I don't know. I mean, hard to know. But yeah, exactly. It's the sort of thing where I guess he gave his receiver a chance, sort of. I don't love the play call. I think the throw was okay. I mean, it wasn't a complete miss, but we're talking on a very weird grading scale when it comes to fades, because if a fade throw isn't perfect, like this is, because I think if I'm seeing it, like Horsted basically clips it with his very outside hand, and kind of like Akusai was saying, was going to have to make a heck of an acrobatic catch either way, but a throw that pushes the ball way over here on this line and a throw that sends it way too far outside, it's all the same to some degree. But so, like, yeah, like, is it a good play? Not necessarily. Should it have been to Kmet? I mean, it's not like I'm going to say no. Kmet's a bigger dude. But, yeah, somebody, like, exactly like you're saying on the broadcast, they said that the tight end jumped wrong. Maybe they were just trying to defend Fields in this case. Maybe it was BG Bears, a Nagy, they won't see it coming play call. Who knows? Even there, they're getting crazy pressure. But so, let me see. Yeah, exactly, John. I think Fields could have thrown it better, but the real thing that I think I would leave you with, now that we've watched the majority of the first half, is it felt as if throughout this game you saw a theme of Fields would do something that could maybe, or like that could have been a play. Thank you so much, Celtic Kev, for jumping on in. Like, Fields would do something, could have made a play out of it, and the Bears would tend to not deliver. Like, whether it was the Kmet drop earlier, Mooney not quite catching the ball, like, plays like that with, what is the word? Oh, Horsted going up for it, not coming down with a wild catch. It felt as if, at least to me, the Bears didn't give their rookie any particular support. And no, he didn't play like, current Russell Wilson. He certainly didn't play like crazy Deshaun Watson on his 19 touchdown tear. But I also didn't think Fields played especially non-rookie like for the majority of the game. But then at the very end, it kind of fell apart. But Hitesh Graham, in fact, I don't actually know if he did play in the game, truth be told. But so let's see. Let me see. Quinn and Mack are owed. Oh man, yeah. Was Graham on the COVID list? Like, is that what happened? Because somebody mentioning that does jog my memory. That sounds right to me. But, like, quick read right here. It's the same play call. hilariously enough. Like, here you see Justin and A-Rob tighten up that makes sense. Graham on the COVID list. Here you see Justin and A-Rob tighten up that same option curl thing, and he takes the same exact hesitation, delivers the ball to Allen, who picks up like 10 yards. Again, you don't need to go too crazy, but like solid right there. I guess with pressure in his face, no less. It's wild to me when you watch this offensive line just how often they were getting absolutely rolled. Like here, they're gonna run this like long slant, and you end up with what is that? 2 guys right near Fields as he's throwing just a quick out route, for crying out loud. And so, nice that the Bears get 10 yards out of it, but gracious alive, they took so many L's on a play-to-play basis in this game. It hurt to watch. And then, of course, we've got Mustipher blowing a play up where he just kind of goes bowling. I don't know what else to call it. Like, here's a good view of it. You're just going to see that Mustipher never gets a ball up. And so he just rolls it right towards Justin's foot, who picks it up and eats a loss of 2. So even when the Bears find a quick completion, you end up with the quarterback having to face 2nd and 12 because the center just sort of rolled the ball. And then somebody was asking where are the slant routes. This is a great example of where are the slant routes, where, and Reinhardt, I heard about that. I haven't listened to it yet, but it sounds like it was rough, all things told. I feel bad for everybody involved with the Mustipher thing. Obviously, Olin Kreutz cannot go out and just shellac Sam Mustipher on whatever airwave it is, because he works with him, for crying out loud. But that, you can't be having that, and that's 2 games in a row. But so here you're going to see another slant from Goodwin. This is an ISO slant, no less, where I can't remember what they're going to have A-Rob do, but he basically just gets out of the way. And this looks, to me at least, like it's a predetermined read of sorts, where he looks at, I think he might look at A-Rob. Yeah, he basically just looks to make sure that this guy doesn't trigger down on top of Goodwin before making a quick throw to Goodwin, who is not even close to open. And the throw, I can't tell where it goes. I really can't. I've watched this play a bunch, and it looked high from the other angle. From this angle, it looks like it's way out in front of Goodwin. Maybe it's also high, but if it was high, I don't know where it goes. So maybe it was a throwaway. Maybe he realized that there was no fitting the ball in. Maybe the ball slipped out of his hand, for crying out loud. But that definitely was one of those that watching it again, I was like, what is this? But so, there are some people that are really excited about Dieter Esiason, Southside Bear. Was it tipped? That might actually be the case. Like, watching it just there, I thought the same thing, Reinhardt. So let's take a look, see what it is. But let's see here. The ball's wobbling a little bit, so maybe that might have been tipped. If it was tipped, it would be pretty bang. But so, and it might be Isolin, now that I think about it. Not Esiason, that's Boomer. But so I think it would be 50, Vea, who's just Galactus over here. Hard to tell whether it's tipped or not. But either way, it is definitely, or what is this? That's a terrible slant route on Goodwin's part. But so, not great that the matchups that Fields is picking aren't coming through for them. And whether or not they're the right ones, it's truly hard to tell. I'm not in the quarterback room. Normally, I just try to take a look at what happened. Like, let's say Fields, in this case, I'm evaluating that he threw it to Goodwin. So at this point, or like, yeah, he did, didn't he, Reinhardt? But so I look at a route like this where Robinson is running. I think it's a curl. So they've got a curl and an in route right here. And if I see Fields throw this side, I take a look, say to myself, okay, is it reasonable for him to pick that side? If yes, I just move on. Like, there's no sense worrying about the backside if the front side made sense. And in this case, he's got Allen Robinson one-on-one with 43. If 43 goes in, if 43 attacks the flat, then he's got Robinson, so that part is sensible. And then he's got a one-on-one with one of the worst corners in the league, or at least they're playing poorly, like in Tampa Bay. So he's got a speed receiver with a one-on-one on the inside. I got no problem with this. Like that's how I tend to grade whether or not he made the correct decision. I look at the concept. Did it make sense to pick that concept pre-snap? Go with it. And in this case, that means Mooney isn't an option at all. He takes a look at Robinson. Robinson's not there. He throws to his slant route. His slant route's not there. And at that point, maybe he just doesn't throw the ball at all, but it looks like it's a pretty bang-bang play. You take a look at the linebacker. Linebacker's in position. You get it to the slant immediately. Ball gets tipped at the line, it looks like, but that's just insight to my process. And then let me get a peek at the Notarinos. Oh, gosh. Yeah. So here, whatever it is that happens, like, let's see. What live feed? Errol. Yeah, let me know what live feed are you talking about? This one? Like, can you catch up? But so anyways, this one makes you sad because it feels like no matter what the Bears do, they lose. Here they actually get Mooney open. We've talked a lot about receivers that weren't able to separate. Here, Mooney does on a fishhook looking route. It's actually closer to like a seam, and then it breaks out with Damiere Byrd running out up the sidelines, Allen Robinson running out up the sidelines. Bears have play action. Like, they're absolutely doing everything that they can to protect with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. Nope, it's 7 guys because that would be too much math. But so they've got 7 guys in pass pro, and guess what? They get the throw, or like receiver ends up open, but James Daniels and the rest of the Bears line can't handle a stunt. They end up with a man in Fields' face right as Mooney comes through breaking out. Throw can't be made. Fields thinks about it right here, maybe. I actually can't tell if he thinks about it or if he takes a look and goes, it's off. But he runs, fakes a throw, pulls forward for about 7 yards. It just feels like there's always something here. Like, I can't tell if it's a Nagy thing. Sure, I would love to see Fields, given what happened, just throw the ball where he can. But it's a bummer that on this sort of play action setup, they end up dealing with pressure, which pulls his eyes immediately. Like, you go back and you watch, you can see Fields recognize that that he's got a man coming in his face and just pull his eyes down. You'll see it right here where Fields takes the snap, drops back. He's clearly looking at Mooney right here, but you're going to see that once 58 enters his frame of vision, his eyes go from Mooney to 58, and from there it becomes about how do I not get sacked. As he moves around, tries to keep his eyes downfield enough, but I think he loses a sense of where the play is and just runs forward and takes the 7. Either way, it's bad quarterbacking. I think it's bad. I mean, it's not a sack, so that's decent, but it's a bummer to see that the Bears can't allow Fields, who I think has a very accurate throwing arm, clean pocket, and an open receiver, which obviously, if everybody could generate a clean pocket and an open receiver on every single play, football would be even easier than it is. And it's not hard, or it's not that easy a game. Obviously, it's quite difficult, but you get the idea. It just feels like even on the shot plays, the Bears can't end up with what they want. And here is the 4th and 5 sack where can't remember. Let me see. Nothing's open on the right. Fields tries to break for the rushing lane. JPP swallows him up. Vita Vea rolling straight through the defensive line or offensive line. It's 4th and 4. He's covered. What do you do? Like, I don't want to cape for him too hard, but yeah, exactly, John. It's just a whole lot of bad. Like, a whole lot of bad. At some point it bubbles up. It's got to be the offensive staff's fault. I don't necessarily know, like, what it's going to take for it to get better. I think it'll need pretty heavy investment on the offensive line, all things told. I think some better receivers would certainly go a long way. You take a look at what happened with the Bengals and Jamar Chase's addition, obviously just about changed the offense. But at the very least, we can see Fields developing, even if just a little bit. And here he sees an open rushing lane, but this time it's Jason Peters who gets, I wouldn't say beat, but JPP does such a good job of containing, at the very least, that thanks so much, Peter VDM. You're the man. But so he does a good enough job of containing that he's able to pull Fields down, and Fields does not get the running room that he wanted. If there's one, I wouldn't call it a bad habit, but one area of growth I'm excited to see from Fields, it's this run trigger that he has, where in college, obviously, you run now, you get the yards. He seems like he triggers just a smidge late on some of these running lanes where smart defenders are just covering that running lane up, as they should, and like pulling him down, obviously. And so it'll be interesting to see how he develops there. I think if you're gonna not run, don't run. If you're gonna run, go, right. Like on fourth down right here, for instance, if he sees the running lane and so on and so forth. Let me see. Oh, you're talking about Peters, Jordan. Sorry, I was reading your comment. But so, like, if you see the running lane and you want to take it, go. If you get there late, having the sense to say, I have no idea what's going to be there, but we've got to find something else because that lane's going to close. Or even just recognizing that baiting in and wrapping out. Like, there are some of these things that just as a veteran in the NFL, you can't assume you're faster than everybody. But what you can do is you can get guys leaning one way and then go another way. For instance, whether it, like right here, again, I'm not saying that it's even all that common, but a quick step in to pull JPP over and then stepping right back out around helps. But you have to know that JPP is going to close that lane before you would even think to do that. But so it wouldn't surprise me, Hitesh, talking about being down early, looking for a big play. I think Fields just wants to throw the ball. I think, honest opinion, I think Fields has been told his whole life that he was a running quarterback for different reasons. Probably because he was fast as much as anything else. And so I think Fields wants to throw the ball. I think Fields loves throwing the ball, wherever it is. I don't want to circle him because he's not open. But, like, Fields wants to take a look. He wants to go through his reads. He wants to see, okay, do I have the flat? Okay, do I have the curl? Do I have this post? Like, that's terrible drawing, but you get the idea. Fields the throw first quarterback. He's just not at a whole lot of targets to throw to. And, frankly, if you do ask me, I tend to think he was thrown in a little bit early compared to what was going on in the preseason. Like, if he had gotten as many reps as possible in the offseason, it would have been one thing, but he didn't. So he got thrown in with pretty generic stuff, trying to get accustomed to an offense that wasn't really built to house him as early as week 2. But it feels like, it feels troublesome, all things told. But so from there, oh man, y'all are goofs. But so, yeah, it does feel, Joe, like Fields is hunting big plays. I can't tell if it's too much or if it's just as much as I want it to, or him to, but either way, the plays aren't there. And that's a real bummer because obviously you would hope that they are. But so we'll go through a couple of these, we'll go through a couple more plays that I feel like we need to talk about, and then I'll take some questions before we can watch some defense and get out of here. This is definitely not about to be, what is this? Yes case. I was about to say, more or less. Like, this is definitely not setting up for a 4-hour stream if you can't hear my voice, but we definitely wanted to talk about this. Overall, PJ, I hate being dramatic about the coaching staff, but I actually do think that the coaching staff is more or less failing Justin Fields. Like, if I had to give a grade on how they were developing, I would say it's like a D at this point. Like, I just feel as if while the coaching staff is doing what they can, I do believe they're trying. Like, I don't want to be too dramatic about what's going on here, but the Bears are not making anything easy for Fields. For those of you Ultra Warriors, Uber people that stayed up with me at like 2 a.m. weeks ago watching Justin Herbert, y'all remember how many yards after catch Fields got? Yeah, Derek, I know. I don't give out Fs easily. Like, you got to really suck to get an F, and that's what makes the F so bad. But D's really terrible. Like, it's failing grade. But so anyways, if y'all remember that Justin Herbert first start we watched Austin Eckler catch like 70 yards after catch, maybe more, off of quick little orbit screens. Like, there are so many things that the Bears aren't doing for Fields that drive me nuts, where you end up with, let's see, Yeah, you have to be the Jets to get Fs. And the Bears, enough. I hate, by the way, that they put. So I know I'm talking about quick little screens, and I know Fields makes the easiest throw in the world here to get 5 yards. But oh my word, does it drive me absolutely insane when they put when they put heckin' Marquise Goodwin in the backfield. Like, what do defenses think they're gonna do when they do this, right? Like, what do they think that Marquise Goodwin's going to carry the ball? Because I sure haven't seen it. It drives me nuts when they do this, if only because it feels so fake creative, but really just obvious, right? And I'm okay with empty sets when used correctly. I mean, here 24, for instance, Khalil Herbert is going to pull 33 out of his lane because he goes where he's supposed to be. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously Tariq's placeholder, but just use Damian Williams if that's the case. At least it presents the same dual threat. In this case, quick little screen out to him. Solid block by Kmet. Credit to him. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't, but he pushed him out of the file. Darnell Mooney doesn't do much on this play specifically. He certainly can't win them all, and he does not. Like Delaney, 30, had a great game. Just attacked downhill, went at the Bears. I would say he had not incredible responsibilities, all things told, but he did well within the responsibilities he had and was part of the reason that Tampa Bay was able to just clamp down on what the Bears wanted to do all evening long. But so, next play right here. This is a simple little quick read, which, again, don't build the bust. Don't plan the parade. Don't go crazy. But at the same time, it's neat seeing Fields look at a first read and get the ball on time to a second read for a first down on third down, right? Like 43 battles with Mooney all the way through a curl route. It is just curls and curls and more curls, isn't it? But so here, Mooney, actually, honestly, I can't tell what Mooney's trying to run. I think it might be a curl route. But so Fields takes a look at what goes on right here and just dishes the ball. It's not a difficult throw. It's one that if Aaron Rodgers did it, we'd be like, you're making it too easy. But at least it's nice to see that Fields is getting to the point where he capably goes through, makes a quick look, gets the ball out. He's coming along. He's moved from a state of, I think, at the time, I was trying really hard when we went through the Cleveland tape to be like, it's not Fields' fault, and it wasn't, but Fields definitely didn't help anything. And I would say we probably talked pretty negatively about Fields at that time. Like, I really do. But so here, I feel like everything just got turned up. Everything got turned up a notch in this game, where I feel as if Fields just had nothing helping him. Like, whatever plays he could make, he kind of did. This is a neat example. Man in his face, and he still makes a gorgeous throw for about 20 yards. Like, these things shouldn't be impressive to us Bears fans. I think they sometimes can be. That with a man in your face, you can possibly step in and hit a wide open receiver downfield for 20 yards in stride. But that's the quarterback we have. Like, in these setups, the funny thing, by the way, if you wanted to talk Madden vision, as Fields releases the ball, Jesse James, who, I mean, there's no way he's not throwing to Mooney, right? Mooney's coming across the field, absolutely wide open. He's obviously throwing to Mooney, but it is funny always when you look at these kinds of plays and you see, hey, look at this. If you lofted the ball to Jesse James over here, he could run for God knows how many yards. But that's more tongue-in-cheek than anything else. The magic of the freeze frame, right? But so this is a really, really nice throw. I mean, you can see it too. I trust you guys that if you're still with me at 11:10, you've watched enough football to see, oh, wow, nice little throw. Like, Fields' arm talent is a real thing. But so, let me see. Does he have time to see it? He's not even looking for it, for crying out loud. And yeah, exactly, Reinhardt. That's the... I hate to bag on the guy, but I've started to call these the Orlovsky TDs, where whether it's the after show or I just see it in Dan's analysis a little bit too often. But you take a look at this and you go, what is it? Jesse James is obviously breaking past the edge defender who's sitting in the flat. I mean, you get him the ball. I get that Darnell Mooney's wide open, but you got to get rid of that. We want touchdowns in this league. So you get that ball to your check down and you let him take it as far as he goes. I mean, that's 7 points because that safety, he's just going to watch him run. He's just gonna say, man, Jesse caught the ball. No way I'm getting to that. Just let him go. Yeah, anyways, I can't go too far down that logic. This is a wide open throw. It's a nice throw, all things told. I think Dan does his best. But like I don't want to skewer him too badly. But there's some stuff that I've seen him throw out there that it's like, I don't know. But anyways, Jay, I think Fields is it's interesting you say that. Like, I think Fields does does he, Reinhardt? That makes me sad. If that's the case. I think Fields is getting hate because he threw 3 interceptions. I mean, I think there are some people that have just looked at it and said that, like, oh my gosh, reading and giving analysis, they're hard, by the way. But so it's hard to do this at the same time. I think Fields at this point threw for 120 yards and 3 interceptions, and people are just saying, he looks it's terrible. And don't get me wrong, take the numbers out of context. Give it a try. Like, go box score scouting. You could stay stat watchers all you want, Kyle. Like, we are looking at an outlier. I think you guys could agree here. Even the most hardcore Bears fans are probably going to agree with me that we are the crazy ones, right? Like, we are the ones looking at a quarterback whose biggest day so far is 209 yards, right? Like, his big day is 209 yards. I don't even think, did he throw a touchdown against the Lions? Did he have one? No, he had 0, right? So 209, 0, and 0, if memory serves. Like, he's played in 5 games. He threw for 60 yards against Cincinnati. I mean, to be totally fair to all of the hardcore doubters, I am a Fields, I would say I'm a Fields believer. I think Fields is a really talented player, but I think we can all agree that statistically speaking, he's not performing well. Neither is the Bears offense in general, right? And so whether you want to pin it on the Bears offense, whether you wanted to pin it on Fields, at some point you got to pin it somewhere. And I don't blame anybody right now who's going, Fields is underperforming, because how are they supposed to know the context? I mean that very seriously. Like, there's tons of this stuff. I mean, you look at, what's the word? You look at Allen Robinson dropping that touchdown that he had in Cincinnati that led to 40 yards lost off the box score, a touchdown, and probably led to the pick. So that didn't help anything. You look at Allen Robinson stopping on either of the interceptions from last week instead of just continuing, right? I mean, there's tons of the stuff that we could talk about where it changes the box stats, but it's fair to say that right now it feels like all the 50-50 stuff is going against him. I mean, it's not good. And exactly like you're saying, Derek, I mean, it's barely, like, Fields needs a really good game at some point here to make us all feel legitimately better, right? Let me see. Right, Threezy? I mean, to be fair, we're talking about a rookie here. We gave Mitch all the benefit of the doubt in the world when it was 2017, which is key, right? When you're a 4th-year quarterback, I do think it's important to get graded differently than when you're a 1st-year quarterback, and we even know what you don't do well, right? But exactly like you're saying, Joe, I feel like he's on the cusp. I think within the next 4 games, this is something I'll show you guys before we talk about the interceptions. There's a tweet I want to show you guys. So if Buckus Stats is still in the chat, I'm about to show one of your tweets. If you don't know who Buckus Stats is, he does great stuff on Twitter. Twitter is good. I'm on Twitter. You should follow me at Robert K. Schmitz. But so, can everybody see the screen right here? You should follow Buckus Stats right here. Look, it spells like it sounds. But the key that I want to show you guys is, and let me make absolutely certain this is coming through correctly. Yeah, it should be. You guys are looking at all my stuff. But so if you take a look at this DVOA chart that he put together, which is really neat, what you're going to see is the Bears so far within Fields's tenure has played the number 8 ranked. Nope, he didn't. Just kidding. So forget I said that. But he played the 15th, the 15th best, the first best, the 23rd best, the third best, the second best, and the 9th best pressure causing defenses, right? So in terms of defenses that are pressuring the passer, he has played 4 top 10 pressure or creating defenses, and he has played 1 bottom third and 1 middle ranked one. And the middle ranked one was his first real game since ever. Up against these next 4 games, like BG, they do take that into account. So maybe we'll see some of these things change. But I mean, as you're seeing, guys, we're looking at a banged up team that is Joey Bosa and a bunch of, I don't want to call them schmoes, but definitely not talented pass rushers. I don't know what's going on with Pittsburgh, but their pressure rate is really poor. They're going to play Baltimore, who apparently isn't rushing the passer well, which actually legitimately surprises me. And then they play Detroit again. When I look at these next 4 games, not to get too ahead of myself because we've still got to go through the interceptions, but the key that I'm seeing is that Fields needs to play well in these areas. Because the truth is, I don't really care about the fact that they're about to play the 13th, the 9th, the 20th, and the 27th, best defenses. Those numbers are a little less important to me because my current thesis is that Fields is a great thrower of the football. He's developed enough in what he's doing throughout the rest of his game to be set up for a breakout game. He just needs protection that'll allow him to make plays. At least that's what I want to see. I want to see him protected, not making plays. That would really hurt. Like, I personally think that would change the eval a lot. Right now, I'm seeing him pushed around so often and given so little time to throw that, I don't know. I just need to see him in that, like, healthy offensive line situation, which is why I look at a lot of these things. I mean, sure, if he blows up against Detroit, that's great and all, right? But I think we've saw enough of even, Mitch blowing up against Detroit, that for better or for worse, that's not going to be the game that changes anybody's mind. Not really. The Lions are an elixir. But I can't help but look at this San Fran game and think to myself that it's a team really struggling to get after the passer, which is great because the Bears' offensive line's garbage. So what we're probably not going to see is Fields has forever to throw, but he should have longer than 2 seconds flat, which would be awfully nice, wouldn't it? So I personally think this is really key. Because obviously, the game against Green Bay, the game against Arizona, like there are a lot more games on the calendar that you can take a look at that are going to be real challenges, all things told. But the stretch that he's got, which I expected to be a lot harder than it was going to be, this one against San Fran, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore, I don't want to say it's going to be easy. But as long as the Bears can protect Fields well, I think we should have a nice little platform to see what he's got. All things told, because when I watched this Tampa Bay game, I don't think he played outstandingly well. I'm never going to make the argument that Fields played a great game, a secret great game, but I will tell you that I think this will set up the offense actually helping the defense out a little bit more, or the offense helping out the quarterback a little bit more than the quarterback having to basically do everything. But that's just my 2 cents. Let me see. Oh, yeah, the everything goes through me comment is absolutely legendary. Gotta love it, right? But so, next couple that we've got to do is, let me see here. So, I really liked this play. The one that we're about to see, it's not this one. It's the one after this one. But we keep talking about how Fields has the right idea on the scramble drill and none of the execution. Here's another decent one where what you're about to see is nothing's open on the initial read. I don't need to draw it out. He takes a look over here and let me see. Yeah, he ends up with pressure immediately because Vea comes crashing through. So he pretty much abandons what looks like, I think it was this basically, like a quick corner plus Kmet coming out into the flat, and Fields just bails. He just gets out. And so he avoids the sack, which is neat, and then he sees Damian Williams turn his check and release route into a fade, and he finds it. He just shorts the throw real bad, like to just lay it on thick here. Like, this is a throw that I would expect Fields to make. I mean, it's a little bit of a stumper to me, just how far inside this is that 51 gets a hand on it, but maybe Fields was just trying to figure out how to actually complete a scramble drill throw and ended up just doing what he can. And what he can was trying to stick the ball on him, like we talked about at the top of the show. I don't really know, truly. Maybe 45, like he threw it with the man in his face a little bit more. Because I do think that there's something to be said about the idea that Fields can feel free to just throw it now. Like, it's not like he wastes a bunch of time from there. So that was the power of the freeze frame again. But you get the idea. Like, I love the idea. I think it's a great job of recognizing pressure, getting out. Like, from here to here, this is everything we want. Like, there's so much of this watching Justin Fields that I'm like, ooh, he avoided, or he read out the play, he saw the pressure, he got out of the pressure, he found the open man, and he just shorts the throw very short, which it would have been called back anyways. Would have been a nice, fun rep at the very least if he didn't deal with Sam Mustipher holding on this very play right there. They ultimately flag. I can't tell if they meant to flag Whitehair in this specific case, but they call it on Mustipher for a hold. But either way, it's one of those that hopefully we're looking back in 5 games saying, remember when he goofed all this up? Like, exactly, John. Maybe he didn't see the defender, but what do you mean what happened? Oh, you mean like what happened to Mooney on the route specifically? Mooney was on the ground? Oh, he trips. I don't know if you could see it there. But so he trips, which happens in football. But maybe he didn't see the defender. But either way, this is definitely one of those plays where you're like, ooh, it would be awfully nice if he could hit this. He didn't. I don't think he necessarily needs to aim for the pylon, but at least get the ball out there in space. Yeah, I think tripped, at least. We're watching Mooney right here. So he makes this break, and then, oh, he gets like tripped as he just yanks on him. Okay, well, that's kind of a miss. Like, here it is where he just grabs at him, it looks like, just gets a whole hand of his hip and just lets him onto the ground. Not even all that easy. But so that's a miss, unfortunately. But I wouldn't say blown PI case. I'd say blown defensive holding. But I'm a stickler. The flag was on Mustipher for holding, which I wouldn't say is like the best call in the world. But as a Bears fan, I try to not be overwhelmingly like Homer-ish, so I'll let him go. And then here's the second interception, which is a key to me, because what you're going to see is Mooney's going to run a basic stick route, and yeah, exactly, what's defensive holding, right? But so seriously, I was sitting there thinking the same thing, Reinhardt, as we get into it. Just like, please do something. They're going to play soft coverage. At least score the soft coverage touchdown, right? Like, I would love to see the score touchdown. Or you get the idea. But so, no, Orlovsky wouldn't be wrong there, BG. But so, this made me sad because Fields takes a look at the safety, then looks at Mooney, throws to Mooney, lets the ball off a little bit high. Mooney jumps straight through it. Is it catchable? I mean, I think so. Is it the easiest catch in the world? I guess not. Ball goes through his hands. Pick. And what hurts is, we've talked about this before. I talked about this like way back in the Cincinnati game. But Fields does have a bad habit where when he can't step into his throw, he doesn't seem to get his arm all the way down. And so he'll let the ball off, say, a little bit higher than when he can step into it, where he seems to be better at least pulling it down, and this will lead to the occasional high release, where I don't think Fields intended to put the ball way up there, but like way up there. But he did. and does that mean it's an impossible catch? No, it doesn't. But does it mean it was a good throw? No, it doesn't. And so I don't think, Fred, it's a terrible route. I really don't. I mean, it's 3rd and 12. This wasn't going to get the yardage. If anything, this was an admission that they weren't going to get the yardage on one play. And the footwork isn't great. I don't think he's anticipating, Whitehair and Mustafa to back all the way up into him. You can tell he's very shy about where that front foot's going to go, which tends to be when he does this. I think it wouldn't surprise me if he's also trying to work to get the ball over Vita Vea. I think that's Vea, who's just absolutely all over this throw. Like, he's all over the tape in general. He's a monster. But the other problem I have is that, right? It's not the Kmet catch, but it's not his fingertips. Like, he gets caught doing something that I think all of us have. Did we all play football ever, right? Did you ever go play catch with your friend? You probably jumped unnecessarily, which is not to say that this is unnecessary. This would have been an extremely hard catch without a jump, right? But if you have ever jumped unnecessarily, you've gotten caught where you tried to make a catch where you unintentionally jumped through the ball and your momentum basically pushed your hands to where you bopped the ball instead of catching it cleanly. And like you're saying, John, really the whole point that I'm trying to make here isn't that it is it's not that this is a good throw, because it's still not a good throw. It's too high. But at the same time, gosh, it sucks that it's an interception. I mean, even an incompletion would have been dramatically better. But so, even saying it's I don't know. I feel like I should pin it on Mooney, if only because it's certainly a catchable ball. But yeah, the Bears didn't catch almost any breaks in this game. Certainly, Fields went pretty much the entire... Oh, sorry about that, Fred. I didn't mean to call you out then. That makes a lot of sense. But so, what breaks my heart about this is that Fields went basically an entire game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where nobody made a play for him. Whether even just catching that, right? I don't mean to sound too apologetic, but we had Allen Robinson laying out full stretch to catch balls much tougher than this, where, during Mitch's 4th year against the Lions, for instance, and plenty of other games. I mean, we have played better, we being the Bears. We've seen the offense perform better for worse quarterbacks. Nick Foles got diving catches. It feels as if Fields cannot get anything going his way. And I'll pin part of that on Fields. It's the only fair way to do it, right? But it is wild to me just how underperformant this entire offensive line is. Or not offensive line, offense, period. Because I think Fields is better than this. I do think that... Oh, yeah, it really was, though, Reinhardt. I remember that play. But so, Derek, maybe it is that simple. I wish I could pin it on one thing or another. Certainly, I've never thought Trubisky was a bad dude. I hope we're all clear there. But it's wild to me to just see just how much, went wrong in this game. And, yeah, let's just stick it on leadership for at least a little bit. But so we got one more play offensively, and then we can talk through some defensive stuff, which I actually don't have any content planned for defense, so feel free to ask questions, and I'll answer those. You can go ahead and get those loaded in now. We'll watch the defensive stop right there. Look at that. I swear, guys, I am, you can call it blessed, you can call it cursed, but I swear every single time I turn on a random defensive play, we find an all-22 clip of Eddie Jackson doing something good. where in this case he fades up, he recognizes a route in absolute space, spins around, walls it off, denies the throw, no flag. Like, just check out this reaction right here where he's going to pass that off. He takes one look at the quarterback. He recognizes 14 is absolutely wide open. So he just denies Godwin a touchdown, doesn't eat a flag. And I did not planned, 100% not on purpose. But there's Eddie Jackson making a play that is extremely hard to make. Like, it's wild how often I feel like that's happening. Because I'm just sitting here waiting to get through it. Oh, this was fun, wasn't it? I'm waiting for it to cycle to the final like play that we're really going to cover with Fields. The only one, I would say. But here's where it's Eddie, it's Alec Ogletree, if memory serves. Like, this is fun. This is old school. What is it? This is old school. Running back jumps for the pylon. He does not get there. Like, this is 85 Bears. The joke that my dad made to me that I thought was hilarious was that he was like, this was like watching an 85 Bears game on the other end of it, unfortunately. So to any young fans, apparently this is what it was like to watch the Bears when they were fun. But, but we got 85 Bears. So yay. But, Kusai, we have to. We have to. That's what I'm getting to. And we have to talk about the third INT. We have to. Because it was bad. It's bad on a lot of fronts. There's not a lot of ways to go about it. So here is the play before the interception. And it is honestly lucky it's not a safety. Of course, for some reason, the Bears decide that they're going to go, I think it's inside zone. Like, I'm pretty sure that the Bears go inside zone for like the first time all game, and they leave a gap wide open. Credit to 45, because you're going to see him shoot a beautiful gap where the Bears, it takes them 4 guys, but they're able to log jam up front. Bars gets a piece of 90 right here, but the big key is that 45 Devin White absolutely rockets through Herbert's gap before Herbert's even got the ball. Here he is with the ball. 2 defenders, one by Bars, that are closing in on him, and he's standing 3 yards deep in the end zone. Thank goodness he gets out of it. Maybe not thank goodness. Maybe it would have been better as a safety, because we never would have gotten this play. This play sucked. So, first and foremost, it's a terrible throw. Like, this is a terrible throw. Because as we're going to see, he lets this ball go. Bad throw. Really bad throw. I can't emphasize enough. This might be the worst play of Fields' life as a Bears fan. Or as a Bear, this is probably his worst throw yet. Like, even the Bengals one, at least that's just he got fooled. But this throw is neither deep enough to the sidelines nor deep enough out to get to Robinson. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because I think he was hurried by himself. Like, I think he gets nervous and just shorts this, which is not good either. It is 38-3, but what happens, at least from what I am seeing, Reinhardt, I don't think it's back shoulder, because back shoulder, you generally want to put that ball on the sidelines. But the trouble here is that watch when A-Rob turns around, and this isn't an anti-A-Rob thing. You have to assume that based on the play call, the wide receiver and the quarterback know when they're going to look for the ball, right? And A-Rob turns around so late. There it is. That's when A-Rob turns around, and the ball's like coming down from its arc, for crying out loud. Like, Fields throws this so unbelievably early based on where it should be. Let's go back to when Fields throws it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like, A-Rob knows, so he talked about this in his presser. So take it for what it's worth. I believe him, because it's a basic wide receiver technique where he sees a corner in off coverage. So his first step is to go catch up to him. He's just got to go get there, and then he can make the next part of his move. So he eats him up. and Fields lets the ball go right here. A-Rob is definitely not looking for the ball, and he's not actually past him yet either. So either it's a crazy trust throw, or, and I think this is more realistic, Fields saw all the people coming while he stood 7 yards deep in the end zone and just said, I have got to get the ball out. And so he did. Doesn't take the sack, but he does not complete the pass. That's for sure. It doesn't help anything that... So did A-Rob even beat his guy? That becomes a secondary question because the corner watches the ball the whole way. Like, you could see the corner's still looking at Fields. The corner's looking at Fields. The corner's now looking at the throw. He never really honors A-Rob. So did he beat A-Rob, or did A-Rob beat him? I don't know. Like, I really don't know because the corner plays the ball the whole way. Like, this is bad. It's bad play. And, like, don't get me wrong. It's the kind of thing that if you see it again, like, it's uncharacteristic. He shouldn't be missing like this. It's one thing to miss in a scramble drill when you don't have a ton of chemistry, but this is a very bad. Jay, if it's a deep curl, I'll drive to Chicago and I will, like, Smirnoff Ice Matt Nagy or something. I'll find some way to be a pill because it can't. There's no way it's a curl in that setup. Like, it would just be ridiculous. It would be the stuff of memes. But I also think that Fields, who's been now strip sacked a couple times, he's got a blitzer coming over here, which, hey, Herbert does a really good job picking up this blitz from the other side, for crying out loud. And so Bars does a decent job getting down on 43. 58 plows all the way through his double team. And I think Fields may just end up really uncomfortable. And so he lets this thing go. It's not good. But so, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot more to analyze, not just in this game, but period. Where, I mean, for crying out loud, Herbert has to see Shaq Barrett beating two guys and then recognize, wait a second, I have to get out to the edge. Like, yes, Tampa Bay did a really good job defensively. I think Bowles is a great player. Or a great defensive coordinator. He does a great job with what he's got on his hands. But, yeah, I mean, Herbert looks like he beats him there, for what it's worth, Hitesh. Like, credit to him. But this is... exactly. What I will say is Allen Robinson got a lot of heat for not being anywhere near the ball. Watching the play, I feel for A-Rob, who probably sees it right there, tries to put on the brakes, but... I don't know. I mean, to be fair, body language is not exactly amazing from A-Rob, but at the same time, I wonder what anybody's body language is really going to be like. I mean, it's easy in the middle of a Twitter clip to say one thing, but for crying out loud, it is the wrong end of a 38-3 beatdown at this point. But it's a bad throw. I think it's rushed. Being in the end zone certainly doesn't help, but this was probably as rookie as I think Fields looked, if not almost a little too small for the moment. So if we see this again, it'll be a real red flag. Right now, I will issue a yellow flag because he's a rookie, and we give a lot of rookies a lot of passes, as I think we should. The idea that we're deciding who Tua Tagovailoa is here a year into his career, I think is a little ridiculous. I mean, look, not everybody's Josh Allen, right? Like, here's the key, at least in my opinion. Josh Allen was abjectly terrible. Pick your metric. He was really terrible his first year. Oh, no worries. He'll get better his second year. And he was really terrible again. And then he comes out in his third year and his fourth year, and he looks like a very, very, very good quarterback. And Patrick Mahomes was awesome. He's still great. He's throwing a lot of interceptions doing the same thing, but he's still great. Like, I get the impression that right now we're so hurried up to make a decision on a lot of these guys. I would have probably told you that I was willing to get rid of Mitch after, say, the third year. But, hey, the idea that they gave him his fourth year, I just didn't like the fact that they were going to give him his fourth year and not extend him or get... It was the concept of the one or the other bit. Thank you so much. What is this? Jeffed Peter? Is that an F? But either way, like, Mitch did have... Or, like... I would tell you, Reinhardt, that yeah, from a separate eval perspective, sure. Like, Mitch did have the same issues in year 3 that he did in year 4, that he did in year 2. Like, that wasn't good either. But as we're seeing, I mean, Matt Nagy is not exactly the world's greatest. He's really not the world's grandest coordinator, so we can at least rub elbows with that idea. Mitch may get the chance to start. Like, we'll see. If Mitch never starts again, let's start talking about Mitch. If only because I feel like right now Mitch is this black hole where we're not going to get anything really good out of it. We're just going to have to wait and see. It would be really neat to see him succeed. Honestly, he seems like a good kid. If never did anything but work hard in Chicago at the very least. But I would tell you that, John, if you pushed me to it, I think 3 years is a good cutoff for a lot of these quarterbacks. But exactly, Reinhardt, like, when you look at a lot of these guys, I think hang on, let me take a look. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you, Case. Like, Justin Herbert has certainly made everybody think that the only way to know that a guy is successful is to see him succeed in his first year. Joe Burrow, as a matter of fact, like, according to most advanced statistics, for crying out loud, Joe Burrow did not have an awesome rookie year because he was throwing. Technically, it was inefficiently. He threw like a 300-yard game, and it took him like 64 throws to do it, if memory serves. Now, from a film guru perspective, you could take a look, and you could say that, you could take a look at Burrow and say the fact that he was able to handle a 64-throw plate right out of college says a lot about him. I think you're right. But getting off of all that, the point is, I do think we're a little too fast to judge these kids. And I would say that if our quarterback was Trey Lance, I would say that if our quarterback was Mac Jones, I mean, I'd probably be more excited, all things told. Not if Mac Jones was this, but more that Mac Jones is putting up such fun numbers in wins, like 250 yards, 280 yards right now is stuff Fields just doesn't have. Fields has one really great game from a yards per attempt perspective, but we all like stats. He has yet to have 2 touchdowns in a game. I was hoping it would have happened by now. It has not. So I'll keep hanging on to my Jesper Horsted touchdown, just like everybody else does, a rushing touchdown in the Rams game, and so on and so forth. But we all want to see the numerical, statistical success and points on the board in wins. Better than like 20 games. Or not 20 games, a 20-9 win over the Raiders. But at this point, I look at Fields. I think this play might be the low point in his career. Like, at least I hope so, certainly. Where, from a mechanical perspective, let me take a look at it here. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's not as if the mechanics of it are all that bad. I just wonder whether he didn't put enough juice into it. Because there's almost no way, in my opinion, that he intended to put the ball there when normally you're trying to throw it within this bucket right there, and we've seen him throw it, for crying out loud. Yeah, Watson is another great example case, and you could even say Mahomes is an example, because while Mahomes sat for a year, all anybody ever saw of Mahomes was a really good player. Ben Baldwin did something on Twitter just today, or I think it was today. It was within the last couple days, but I think it was today, where he put something out that tracked quarterbacks in their first 200 plays. And I thought about that. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what do you mean their first 200 plays? Not everybody's first 200 plays are equal, for crying out loud. Like, Mahomes got his first 200 plays between his one game in his rookie year and then his his first 5 games of his sophomore year. Like, then Watson obviously played incredibly. Like, actually, Watson totally fits this. And I'm not about to cry foul. I mean, Trevor Lawrence's first 200 plays and Zach Wilson's first 200 plays, Justin Fields' first 200 plays, all look like they're for really dysfunctional teams. So, totally grade them. But it really is one of those things that I look at, like, and say to myself, right now, the trouble with Fields is that we've only seen him in this setting where he seems like he's developing, but he's only just now hitting the point where I actually think he's due for like a real breakout besides a perfect toolsy thing. Like, I think back even all as far as the Lions game, Fields needed to basically have prescribed reads. They had to know pretty much exactly where the ball was going to go, or I don't know if Fields was going to find it. We saw in the first game against Cleveland, Fields missed a bunch of deep reads. Like, we saw it, right? We were all there. We were all watching the game. And he seems to at least be identifying the proper place to go with the ball and even making the throw when it's under controlled environments. He's just really struggling at this point when it comes to the off-platform stuff from, like, off-platform stuff in the scramble drill, seeming like he's not on the same page with his receivers, and this throw was especially bad. But outside of that, I mean, again, you can't give Fields a good grade for this game, but I don't think he was the worst part of the offense, which is a shocker. And Spud, he was getting massacred in the Cleveland game. I would tell you the Cleveland game was partially his fault. I mean, he's a rookie, so you can pin as much as you want on a rookie that shouldn't have had a ton expected of him. But even so, the Fields that we saw today was a better quarterback than the Fields that we saw against Cleveland. I'm convinced. The question becomes, something's got to give. What is it? Is Fields going to stay mired in this 120-yard mediocrity? Or is Fields going to take to go back to the tweet we were looking at, is Fields going to take a couple of weeks here against some poor pass rushing teams and play up to his billing? I hope it's the latter. I sure hope it's not the former. Because if we get to the point where we're here, going into the Seattle game, waiting for Fields' breakout game, that's just not a good place to be. Like, there's not a ton of these quarterbacks that we've seen develop. We don't have a lot of corollaries that we can point to, historical precedents that say that getting to there with a rookie quarterback that has yet to show more than the single play flash, that things are going to turn around. But, like, I mean, exactly like you're saying, Pocket, I get what you're saying, or I get where you're coming from. Like, that the Buccaneers are a bottom 5 pass rushing team, but the Buccaneers are also 9th in pressure rate, which the Bears' offensive line, you're going to get an inch, or like you get that inch, you're going to take a yard. Latavius Slimmon's played especially badly, but who knows? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I would look at. I mean, we need to see something from Fields eventually. Like, I think we can all agree with that, right? It's not even a fairness thing at that point. We need to see something against, or like, pro Fields. But we got to, like, it doesn't have to be this week. It doesn't have to be next week. It would be nice if it was. But we'll see what happens from there. And, like, yeah, I mean, 100% Reinhardt. Mitch had that awesome 4th down conversion. Like, good stuff, Jordan. But so, yeah, like, let me see if I can even find that. I have to, right? Stick with me, because that one's fun. YouTube. I can't type, can I? But so, I tend to just go to this for ease of use. Let me see here. Bears vs. Lions 2017. It's one of my favorite plays Mitch had in his life. So unbelievably hype. Not the Ravens. You're thinking of a different one. It is, let me see here. Are we talking about Herbert? Yeah. Herbert had 100 yards. I think just barely. But so, let me see. It is... It's not that. Did he do it again? No way. Because I'm thinking of the... yeah, we don't need to see the miss, Reinhardt. But the 4th down was amazing. Like, it was the second Lions game. Is this the first Lions game? Not the deep pass. You're thinking of a different play, Hitesh. But so... Oh, it's this one, isn't it? Here it is. So it is 4th and 13 with 28 seconds left. Here it is. I love this play. This may get this demonetized, but we're just gonna live with it, right? So it's Bears have 3 timeouts. It's 4th and 13 for crying out loud, and Mitch just finds a way because it's money, Joe Manzo. We gotta do what we can. But so Bears down 3, they gotta stay alive, and rookie Mitch Trubisky just figures it out, right? Stops, breaks back, rolls forward, breaks a tackle, gets through, just like crunches out the yardage. Everybody calling timeout. Benny Cunningham on the team. And then, like, here it is from the other angle. This was so unbelievably fun. Like, I remember as a fan, I was going absolutely ballistic. I was getting ready for overtime, obviously. And then, oh gosh, and then the defense, or not the defense, it was Barth at this point. So Mitch comes through. He then, from the 45, delivers a rocket to none other than, is that Dontrell Inman? I think it is. And then we miss. And we don't need to talk about that part. That part's dull and boring. But, yeah, I mean, that's the play that I remember from Mitch, where he just figured it out. And I hope that the best we get from Fields isn't a 209-yard like game where he was just hitting deep shots all day long. But against San Francisco, we may see a little better. Like, I really don't think, weirdly enough, that the wide receiver separation is the Bears' biggest issue. Right now, I think the biggest issue they have is this pocket problem. That they can't... Yeah, Mitch was stupid clutch, by the way. But so... The problem that I'm seeing them have is that Fields doesn't have any time to throw, and that's his absolute favorite thing. Like, when you give Fields time to throw, he'll figure it out. The problem is right now, he's got 3.5 seconds absolute max. Like, he's getting hit at 3.5 seconds. Instead of these pockets that we're even seeing like Derek Carr and the Raiders have against the Bears, for crying out loud. I would love to see the Bears find ways to get Fields more of those. Maybe it'll just come with playing teams that are worse. So hopefully, as the Bears take on the 49ers, we see a couple more of those and ultimately leads to, let's say, a little bit more fireworks. Fields does not have to light the world on fire, right? But I do think, yes, BG Bears fan, what changed between Nagy offenses that could scheme passes open but couldn't run the ball and receivers that are always covered? At this point, I would honestly tell you that the biggest change is that they fundamentally reworked their identity, but mostly they just changed all their linemen, right? Let me see. Like, they changed, for instance, from simple sound, like Charles Leno to Jason Peters. Jason Peters isn't a bad tackle, and it's not even like we're playing 1-to-1, because there are a lot of people that hate Charles Leno, right? But Charles Leno was your typical pass-first offensive lineman that you tried to get what you could in the run game, whereas I would say Peters is more of a run tackle at this stage of his life, and like he pass protects as much as he can. But the Bears had a better center at that stage, with even if it was Daniels, like Whitehair and Daniels, I would tell you, did a better job at center. The left guard was fine, Massey was fine. Like, they just generally had the guys across the line that I would say were not as liable to just totally fail. But that's just my 2 cents of it. That then they seem to have come out with a very heavy running identity, which was nice. But also Mitch was pretty good at short throws. So I don't 100% know where some of this stuff went. Like, truth be told, I'm trying to figure it out just as much as anybody else is. But the impression I get is that the Bears are crazy predictable. Like, they only seem to run about 5 passing concepts at this stage. Like, I feel like we've all seen it, right? We've seen the, like, 5 things that they seem to run in the passing game. It's a curl, it's their play action levels concept, it's their play action wheels concept, it is it's a, like, corner with a backside. Let's draw them. Why not, right? So sometimes they'll run a corner route from Mooney or like a post, or they'll run a corner with A-Rob running a backside dig. Other times they'll run a straight curl in this kind of setup, or they'll have double slants like we saw. I mean, we'll occasionally do dragon with somebody doing something like that. I would say, Kyle, they did do more with Dalton. Like, I do think Dalton's got at least a couple more things that they wanted to run. But at the same time, I can't tell how much of that is, oh, Dalton's so much better, versus Dalton got all the camp reps. Like, they designed the offense with Dalton in mind, for crying out loud. They seemed to at least give the indication that they thought Dalton was going to be the starter. And so, yeah, we do run a lot more spot. But so, yeah, I mean, it was curls in 2018. Their answer to everything has been stick and curls, for crying out loud. But, yeah. And so, it hurts. I agree with you, Albono. I mean, I legitimately think, and I would tell you otherwise, that I think a Justin Fields breakout game, it is coming, right? Like, well, it has to be, is the better way I would put it. If I sound like I'm hesitant, it's purely because I think if Fields is who we think he is, over one of these 3 games, he's got to play well. It doesn't have to be 300 yards. Let the eye test do the talking. Fields looked dominant against the Lions. I think we would all agree, right? That we would, like, Fields looked great against the Lions, just shucking the ball deep as often as he wanted to, whenever he wanted to, completing it at a wild rate. As soon as Mooney pulled that ball down, he was awesome. And I would look at the next couple of games. Statistically, it would be awesome if they were great. Gosh, I know Matt Nagy would love to see Justin Fields throw for 350 yards. Say what you will about Matt Nagy. Like, say what you will. He wants to keep his job. And that means Justin Fields playing well. Like, that's one great way to do it. But, Tom, at this point, I would even... Gosh, Fields scoring 2 touchdowns would be awesome. Fields scoring 28 points, whatever that looks like, would be incredible. Like, I personally think, two-stop, that Fields showed throughout this game that he did do a better job of recognizing blitzes. I thought he, I thought Fields avoided about 5 sacks that he would have taken in Cleveland. But that's not a huge, boon. But so, yeah. I mean, I think a breakout game is on its way. I think it's a matter of time because I believe in Fields, in general. But he's definitely got to take steps forward. Right now, he just has to show progress. And I think against the defending champs, that was going to be tough, especially with Lachavious Simmons guarding his side. But that's just how it goes. So let me take a look here. Yeah. Are there any defensive questions you have that I could get to? The big problems that I saw, if I was going to go very, very, very general, let me find my favorite play example. Where is it, for crying out loud? The Eddie plays. I'd have to have them earmarked case, so I may just have to let you know where they are another time. But because I don't have them instantly on hand, and I want to I want to just hand these to you, but I can't remember where they are either. But so let me see here. There's one where, yep. I thought this play was pretty indicative, all things told, of what was going on with the Buccaneers. Where, let me see here. What'd they do on this one? Is it a play action? But so, let me see. I know, John. It hurt. But so, the Buccaneers personnel was just so unbelievably, better than most of the Bears setups, where they were able to get protection. And sure, Brady also manages the pocket really, really solid. Really good. This is something I think Fields could learn from, is that Fields tends to pick his spot and just sort of sit there, whereas Brady can drift. But Brady's also Tom Brady, for crying out loud. So you take what you can when you're watching, the great one. But so somebody said or mentioned like what happened to Jalen Johnson ever since Adam whooped him in the last game. I mean, we are talking about 2 games here, but Mike Evans is just better than him. Like, I hate saying this guy. I hate saying this about it, but Mike Evans is just a better player than Jalen Johnson is, and this play was a pretty perfect example of everything Jalen Johnson's usually good at, and Brady and the Bucs just being better, you know. Like, goodness gracious, right? Like, we would say Jalen Johnson was getting burned, Spud, but Mike Evans was beating anybody at this point. Like, let's see. You can't really defend a perfect throw. You can't defend a perfect route from one of the better, if not the best receivers in the game. Because I do feel like Evans, because the team is so unbelievably stacked, goes underrated. But because again, like Numaz, I wouldn't call it exposed. I wouldn't. I would say Jalen Johnson's just not that good, right? To be not that, or to say Jalen Johnson is better than Mike Evans would be a stronger statement than, I don't know, other things. I'm trying to think of like a different statement, but you get the idea. Like, Jalen's a good defender, but he's probably never going to be your guy that's going to just lock out. He's not going to lock out Devontae. He's not going to lock out Mike Evans. And this is a great example. Like, I would tell you, thank you, Hitesh, you reminded me. I would say Mike Evans is a top 5, top 10 wide receiver. Jalen Johnson's probably a top 15 corner, all things told. Like, I think Jalen Johnson's got a bright future ahead of him. Maybe top 20 corner. Like, either way, he has proven me wrong. I think he belongs in the real CB1 conversation. I just don't think he's a top shelf, like ultra top shelf corner. You know, I don't think everybody needs to be top 20 corner. It's hard to find one of them. You know what I mean? Let alone any more than that. But so I'm trying to compliment. I'm trying to make it clear just how highly I think of Jalen Johnson, who I thought was a CB2 coming into this season. Like, this is the kind of play that I feel like the real air out of the tires during this Buccaneers game on defense was that our best player versus their best player equaled Buccaneers win. Like, they would win those matchups. And that's where I think it got hard. Like, exactly, Tom. I would tell you that I think he exceeded expectations too. And so, Spud, one thing you talked about, we've had a lot of discussions about safety on this channel. A lot. And so the complicated part about all this is that I feel like safety responsibility has gotten really, really misunderstood in a lot of situations. In this case, Eddie's playing deep cover 3 safety. These files, I don't want to say they're not his problem, but I would tell you that like these are the center field safety is going to struggle to get to the very edges of the field in almost any setting, and most of the time he's trying to watch for things like deep crossing routes in this case, or something else coming into the middle. The Buccaneers certainly give him something to occupy, which is why you see him latch onto this route from number 18 where Duke Shelley's been beat. And so while Eddie's trying to keep an eye on the throw, because he's got to, safeties are, like, they have a lot more complicated, I would say, direction. They have a lot more complicated responsibility than just, oh, obviously Brady's throwing the go here, so I need to get to the go. You can see him react as quickly as is reasonable, but yeah, he definitely, like, exactly right, or Reinhardt, like, even when they're right, they can be wrong. Safety's tough. In that sense, it's hard to see on the broadcast. And yeah, exactly, two-stop. I mean, that's actually not a bad way to put it, that like even Revis gets burned. But all things told, I mean, it was just like, here's another just mano a mano, let the better player win, and the better player is Mike Evans in this case. The Bears just dealt with this. I mean, I would tell you that most teams aren't going to be as loaded on they're not going to be as loaded as Tampa Bay. Even with the Bears' crazy schedule, they're not going to be that loaded. But man, the Buccaneers did not give a hoot about they didn't care at all about Jalen Johnson. They were like, yeah, we're gonna go at him. Who cares? But it hurt to watch, that's for sure. Let's see here. We'll find one more drive and then we'll close it up. This is your chance to get questions in. If you want anything specific, you just ask. But you gotta ask. Let's see here. Here's the interception. Yeah, the D did end up in short field situations a lot, and I get the impression that the Buccaneers did a really good job or like taking advantage of them. I mean, it sounds awfully gamey when you put it that way, right? But the Bears got most of their stops off of straight punts and dealing with Tampa Bay on their side of the field. When Tampa Bay got the ball inside of their 40, Reinhardt, this may hurt people's feelings. I'm a waffle guy, but I love the crispiness, and I think it's because I spent my whole life eating pancakes, and at the end of the day, I like variety, which is part of the reason I like football. The football is like a whole game of variety. But anyways, Tampa Bay just, I hate using the phrase got it done, but they just found a way when they were on the other end of the field to, like you're seeing there, grind out a 3-play first down, then hit deep off of Kendall Vildor. I mean, at the end of the day, be honest with yourself, right? Are we really upset that Kendall Vildor loses a one-on-one, right, to to Chris Godwin, for crying out loud? Like, of all the ways that I would expect Kendall Vildor to hold up, I wouldn't be putting Chris Godwin on him and expecting success. Here, the Bucs sure didn't. That looks as easy as it gets, but it's not like, I don't know, it is Vildor's fault. Don't get me wrong. He gets beat in a straight man-to-man competition, but at the same time, that's like, I mean, the Buccaneers really do have 2 wide receiver ones. They have three. They have 3 wide receiver ones on their team. Their wide receiver 1 is top 5. Their wide receiver 2 is probably a top 15, top 20 guy, and their wide receiver 3 would barely make the cusp of what a wide receiver 1 is. And oh man, like that doesn't bode well for a team that's, I would say, fielding 2 depth level players, if not 4, on defense, and just kind of getting away with it. So, Case, you asked for an Eddie play. This one completely went unnoticed, which I thought was a little strange. So Brady makes a beautiful throw, rips it right past Roquan Smith, but Eddie breaks on it and knocks the ball away. And other than that, I mean, it's a clean catch. So one of the only defenders, which is going to sound crazy, that played well was Eddie Jackson against this game, because Braid actually makes the catch right here, and Eddie knocks the ball out. Straight ball, too. Like, I wish I could get a better view on this at this stage so that I could show you guys the zoom, but like, Braid catches it there, and Eddie does a good job getting his arm in to just plow it out, like yank the ball out of the guy's hands and push it to 2nd and 10. But let me see. Somebody's asking, what's Khalil Herbert's biggest weakness? Probably the passing game. I think he's a little underdeveloped there. A lot of guys don't seem as if they like get a ton of work at that in college. Certainly Herbert didn't, but right now, I thought somebody said, what was it, Chubb-ish? I didn't hate that. Like, Herbert, or I would tell you that the most surprising thing about David Montgomery is that David Montgomery is a really, really good, like, receiver of the football. Shockingly good receiver of the football, all things told. But so, with that in mind, I would say Herbert's biggest weakness is that he looks like Mark Ingram catching the football just a little less comfortable. And yeah, Reinhardt, of course, Chubb is a bigger player. Like, I would not compare the two directly yet. I more just picked out that I would say Chubb is a run specialist, whereas, like, Hunt is more of the same level of Monty, where it's like he's as good at running the ball as he is at receiving the ball. Very good. Whereas Chubb, and in this case Herbert, is excellent, like, in running the ball. And I think you lose something when it comes to, like, receiving the ball, but we don't actually know yet. He's a rookie. he's not played a ton, all things told. But so, one thing that did not help was that I think Hicks was out in this game, right? So without Hicks and without Quinn, they couldn't get to the passer, and they couldn't stop the run. Like, here's Mario Edwards and Bilal Nichols just getting deleted as Roquan Smith comes to try to take on a lineman, which goes exactly as well as you would expect. And then DHC is just a little bit late to trigger down. And I think, no, it's DHC that makes the tackle. It's not Smith, who gets absolutely washed out of the picture by the offensive lineman. The Bears got run on, but yeah. And Fournette. Yeah, exactly. Like, the Tampa Bay, what is it? The Tampa Bay running backs are really good too. Like, 100%. Oh yeah, this play hurt my soul. If only because, like, let me see, what is this? Oh yeah, there's Roquan getting rid of the guy. But so, this play hurt, if only because Bojack had made that play earlier. And here, let me see, it's like, so Bojack makes that play earlier, which is exactly why the Buccaneers ISO up Chris Godwin on Danny Trevathan. And, I mean, from there, pump, throw, catch. I mean, every time, it's not like the Bears defense played badly. This was the really weird part about watching this game, is the Bears defense would win a snap, then they would tie a snap, then they would lose a snap. And when they lost the snap, they lost it big. And that was it. I mean, it was the sort of thing that I looked at just watching this game. What hurt is you could find almost any Buccaneers drive, and you'll see pretty much exactly that pattern where, oh yeah, this didn't help. Here's the punt return. And by the way, you can watch it from the special teams view. 48 misses the tackle, and from there, the only reason it's not a score is because, like, can we talk about the wheels on Pat O'Donnell? Look at Pat. Like, you would expect Jakeem Grant to just score this, right? But, like, check out the wheels on Pat just booking it to the sideline and getting an NFL returner out. And you can see everybody pretty excited about it. Like, we don't need to talk too big about the punter, for crying out loud, but man, like, it's just so funny, all things told. Like, because what is this? Null turns him out. 25 can't keep him in. 48, I think that's Scales at this point, by the way, misses the tackle, and then from there, it's all mega punt. 100%. Look at that arm extension. Athlete punter. Like, there we go. But so, there's no way Pat outbenched Clowney. Oh, yikes. You could even, no, not that one. Oh, dang. Look at this. So, here's 18, who's absolutely wide open. And 23 reps? Jeez, Pat. Oh, that's gorgeous. So, this is the little stuff that I think is really neat about just watching DB play, right? Like, so, you end up with 18 absolutely wide open, at least if it was Madden, right? Because if it was Madden, you'd take this, you'd adjust the throw, you'd paint the ball to right here, and you would end up with this receiver fading backwards and you'd catch a touchdown. But that's not how it works, right? Because my wife's asleep in the other room, done. We'll wrap up here soon for pretty much that exact reason. Plus, I could use some sleep myself. But so, if you watch Eddie Jackson, one thing that is really neat, at least I think, is that you get Eddie sinking back, knowing that this route is coming, and he totally takes it away. I mean, there's a reason Brady has to attempt this, like, out and around route instead of just hitting 18, and it's because Eddie's sitting in the area to deny the throw and pushes it out, and it's out of bounds. Like, oh no, they tagged Vildor for holding, so all that for nothing. But this has definitely been my year of watching safety play and understanding safety play as like a better analyst, and it's been really bizarre because the Bears tend to have one really good safety and one very not good safety, and then you end up a place like this. Do you want to call it bad? I wouldn't blame you. Do you want to call it hilarious? It is. Where if you take honestly, Don, I think Eddie's good. Oh, go for it, Ty. No worries. But so I would tell you with a straight face, Don, I think Eddie Jackson is good. I think DHC is fun to watch. I think that he, at the very least, these two seem to get along better. I think the problem is that if the Bears could take, let me just pick on the guys that I'll pick on, and you guys, for anybody who hasn't heard my 2 cents, here it is. But in the Bears standard set, they've got, oh gosh, Vildor, who's fine, fine. A second safety. Usually it's Gibson or Bush, and neither of them are all that great. They've got Ogletree usually, and Ogletree's not phenomenal either. And you end up with, thank you, Ty. But so, feel free to ask your question, by the way. But so, the trouble is that the Bears have enough places where any quarterback could just pick on them that I think that Eddie ends up looking worse than he is, because he'll take. Let's go back to this last route. This last route is honestly, in my opinion, the let me see. This last route is a great example of the problem. Eddie can take one route away. Like, Eddie can take this away and make you think about this throw, that you can't leave it. Eddie will make you realize you can't throw this here, like anywhere in there, and you can't throw probably to about there, all things told. That's probably his range, like, more or less. But you can attempt the throw way out here with this route still keeping his attention. And so at the end of the day, because I'm slowing down, you can hear it, but if you keep his attention with somebody else, there's only so much he can do because he's one human being. Now, if you had, like, the key to, like, whether it is 2018 that you want to get back, he had a really good 2019 season. The better his teammates are, the more the ball has to come to him. Teams just aren't throwing at him right now. If they can avoid throwing at Eddie Jackson, they don't throw at Eddie Jackson. And then you have a $15 million bad tackler. Like, he's not a good tackler. I'm not going to pretend he is. Like, we don't have to pretend Eddie Jackson's a good tackler. He's an okay tackler sometimes. And other times, he'll miss. I wish that his shoulder tackle, he would throw his arms out with it, because he tends to just lacrosse shoulder check. But that's just something, what is it? Exactly. Or Sorlard baby. Like, I do think Eddie's a better tackler than he gets a rap for, but also safeties had to make 22 tackles. 22 tackles in this game. You never want safeties making 22 tackles in any settings. Like, the safeties are backup tacklers, overwhelming majority of the time. But, so anyways, my 2 cents on Eddie Jackson is that he's a good player that plays behind everybody else, but that makes it hard for him to really shine, because if he takes one thing away, they do something else. Anyways, let me get to the question, because I know, Ty, you were waiting on one. But so, let's see, even as rookies, Borum and Jenkins, how do we think will majorly reshuffle the line? I don't actually know. The trouble is with the Bears right now is that I think their biggest issue isn't guard. It's center and it's right tackle. So with Borum and Jenkins getting back, sure, one of them will get a shot at tackle. I don't think they're benching Peters. He's playing too well. Like, even if Borum and Jenkins are both healthy, they're probably both playing. Well, probably Jenkins will play right tackle and Borum would back up at left tackle. But the, center will remain unchanged. I don't know what they're going to do. They got to do something. But the problem is that there's nothing on the roster that somebody gets healthy and their center gets better. It's must for the whole year, for crying out loud, which is insane. and I don't like watching it. I really don't. But so let me see. Oh, so Jamari, I would tell you that, like, my honest opinion is that the Bengals game with Jamar Chase, I don't actually think that any safety would make that tackle. I mean, I really don't. Like, I've watched that play a whole bunch of time. Oh, Don, why won't they change Mustafa? It's because Daniels and Whitehair are playing well at their spots. Just because they're good doing well at guard doesn't mean that they'll do well at center. And while I do think Mustafa's been pretty terrible, they probably won't sacrifice a good thing to risk having a bad thing somewhere else. The Chase one was insane, though. Getting back to that Eddie tackle, like, had that ball been where Chase made it look like it was going, Eddie was right there. But Chase just stopped out of absolutely nowhere. It was an incredible adjustment to an underthrown ball that basically shucked Eddie out of nowhere, who's watching the runner, not the ball, because he can't watch the ball when he's late to try, or not late, but when he's triggering to try to make a tackle. The trouble is that most of these plays, you end up with guys who see Eddie Jackson miss a tackle, but they don't see Eddie Jackson take something away in coverage or make a pass deflection. Where right there, look at that. They go at Mike Evans, Eddie's in the area, no completion. I mean, it's silly because you have to watch all this stuff on all 22. You really do. Where Eddie's going to follow, like, Mike right there, ball comes in. I don't know what Mike is doing, but I guess, like, oh man, Jay, I think I was listening to the Mina Kimes podcast, who was going through divisions looking for dark horse MVP candidates. I mean, given the direction that Chase has taken the Bengals, you could make an argument. It'd be a stupid one, but you could make an argument that the one wide receiver who's playing above Randy Moss, for crying out loud, that, like, he's having one of the best rookie seasons ever. I would tell you that guy he won't get an MVP vote because quarterbacks. But if you were to take quarterbacks out of the consideration, maybe. But, and yes, censored, I know Daniels was drafted as a center, but that only matters so much when you're talking about guys that are playing well at right guard. I mean, I would tell you Daniels is performing too well at this point to take him off the right guard spot. But Ty, exactly what you're saying. Like, let me see. You do have to tackle, but sometimes I think the tackling can be, what is the word? Sorry. I'm thinking of a lot of things. Oh, the problem is that I think that in the modern day NFL, that it's more important that you cover well. Like, if you can handle the coverage aspect of your game, then you... Let me see. I got you censored. But so, I would tell you that I think the coverage end has to be more important, and that the more I've watched Eddie, the better tackler he is. It's just easy to remember that all of the mistakes that he makes when there are missed tackles, even though he's played pretty solidly overall. Like, as far as tackling goes, even, I would say he's been tackling fine in the last couple games. He is the last line of the defense, but it's the defense's job to put him in just as much position to succeed as it is for him to hold that last line. Like, to give an example, saying Eddie Jackson is the last line of the defense can sometimes just pretend like Tashawn Gibson doesn't need to also be the last line of the defense. Like, these guys have responsibilities. They cover things, but they don't cover everything. The safeties aren't a goalie. Finally I have a decent way to say it. The safeties aren't a goalie. The safeties are extra DBs, is what I'm trying to say. So, while they can help their teammates, and you would hope that they do, kind of like I remember there was a play that everybody saw where Jalen Johnson busted a coverage and let Devontae Adams run a corner route while Eddie Jackson covered a route that went the total opposite direction. So Eddie shaded over here, hauled butt, to get back to Davante Adams and blew the tackle. And everybody saw it, right? That Eddie Jackson had the opportunity to wrap Davante Adams up. He didn't. He put his shoulder into him, and honestly, I wouldn't say he caught a break, but I would say Eddie got a little lucky that he actually drove Davante all the way out of the of the sidelines, because all it took was one small step, or one false step by Davante Adams, and Eddie made a tackle when he probably could have had a touchdown. So the thing is, though, Eddie's not supposed to get all the way from here to there. It's so hard. And he did, Reinhardt. He tried to go through, what's the word? It's a thigh and drive tackle, all things told. But you can still use your arms when you do thigh and drive. I did a bunch of research on it, and Eddie doesn't tend to do that. But so, if I was going to tell you biggest defensive need right now, second safety would be a really good one. But so, I would tell you, I think second safety is a great need. Nickel corner would be another great one that I would add, and maybe an inside linebacker too after that. But I think you can live with just one good inside linebacker. I really do. It would be great to have two, but you got too many needs. So I would look and I would say, if you get a second quality safety, you can do a lot of things with even somebody like Vildor, all things told. Their problem is that we've now seen Gibson. So we've seen Gibson. We've seen Bush. Goodness gracious. Bush. And we've seen DHC. And I write all of their names out just so that you can very clearly probably agree with me that the biggest problem the Bears have is that arguably DHC has been the best one, and that's a big issue because both of these have really struggled. What is the word? The problem is that where Vildor has impressed me by making the occasional play, Gibson and Bush have made one play between them and have blown at least 12. Just based off of a rough count off the top of my head, the Bears' second safety has made it literally look like Ejax is the only safety that plays. Does that make sense to everybody in the chat here? That I think a lot of the anti-Eddie Jackson attitude has come from the fact that Eddie Jackson's the only safety you even see, because that second safety is just Houdini, disappears. They're way back doing nothing on half the plays when you would expect them to do just about anything. But it's been hard in that case, because I agree. I think DHC, at least he moves well. People will say, what is it? The safety's the last line of the defense. You're right. Don't get me wrong. But the safety is more than just Eddie Jackson. And so whether it's Adrian Amos or whether it is, I don't know, Antoine Winfield would have been a good idea. But right here, for instance, you'll see Duke Shelley make a nice little play on a ball where he actually does a great job in coverage holding this guy off, and Eddie triggers down on the throw all the same. You want him in this position where he's bending in to try to make sure that he jumps from Vildor's route, which he had to sit over the top of and then get down. But exactly, Spud, I personally think the hard part is that in modern NFL 2021, one defensive back can be avoided. You need to have other good defensive backs. You need a cadre of good defensive backs, because if you don't have a group of them, they can just go, where's he? I won't throw there. I won't do it. There's one play I want to go over, just because if we're talking about Eddie Jackson, which I feel like we do this a lot, but I have to show this one, because we've got a lot of new names that I don't remember, but or that I don't remember seeing. So I'll show this real fast, and case if you know where it is. because I can't remember the marker. But I love this play. So let me see if I can't find this. It's the Gibson touchdown. That's where folks will remember it. Here it is, isn't it? So one thing you don't see often is Eddie Jackson put in conflict scenarios. I found it. But so what I mean by conflict scenarios, you guys have seen these all before, right? Situations where the defense picks a defender and says, you're going to be wrong, right? You've seen this on RPOs. You've seen this with edge defenders on zone reads. You've seen this all over the place. Well, for once, the Packers are going to actually try to put Eddie Jackson in a conflict scenario where they're going to have Devontae Adams beat Jalen Johnson inside, and they're going to have 22, Kendall Vildor, who's going to come out here. He's going to have Alan Lazard take him up the seam, with the idea being if Eddie Jackson goes to Lazard, you throw to Devontae Adams, and if Eddie Jackson goes to Devontae Adams, you throw to Alan Lazard. It's that easy, right? But so if you take a look at this, Tom, I would say this is making plays. Aaron Rodgers takes a look at Alan Lazard. He's covered. Jackson's already got there. Okay, that's fine. So what's A-Rob going to do next? He's going to take a look at Devontae Adams. So he does. He looks at Devontae. But Eddie Jackson's already moving. He's already starting to shift into the area to go get Devontae back. So by the time A-Rod sees that, it's not open anymore. If he throws this ball, it's an interception in the end zone. So Eddie gets put in a conflict scenario. He covers both of them. Like, one safety isn't supposed to get both of those routes, but Eddie does it. He doesn't get near close enough to Lazard to get picked by it, or I think it might be Cobb. But so he doesn't get near close enough to this receiver to get tied up for Devontae Adams. But also, he doesn't, he gets back to Devontae Adams with enough anticipation to take the throw away. So Rodgers gives up. He just says, whatever, screw it. I'll check it down to Aaron Jones. And Gibson's right there. Gibson's sitting here, ready to make the tackle. Easy stuff, right? Right? It isn't. He misses the tackle. He takes it all the way into the end zone. Are you kidding me? It's this. Are you kidding me? This is, in my opinion, what I would tell you with a straight face is the biggest problem on the Bears right now, is that Gibson, who only has one assignment, he's only assigned the running back, just decides to randomly drift off into his zone and ends up giving up a touchdown because he gets scared of nothing. He gets scared of absolutely nothing, gives Jones space to make a play, while Eddie Jackson covers two guys at once and misses a tackle and gives up a score. If the Bears have a second safety that can at the very least hold water, then at least Eddie Jackson has a better shot at getting thrown the ball. Right now, I mean, this is obviously a pretty extreme example, but at this stage, Aaron Rodgers can just decide, these are my only two relevant options. Screw it. I'm just not going to throw near the guy. And so he doesn't. Here, he took away Adams, he took away Cobb, and then, what is that? Another guy's covered over here, whatever. But the big problem is that you can't ask more out of $15 million Eddie Jackson, but he's not getting interceptions when he's getting ignored. That's the problem here, right? Is we all want Eddie Jackson to make plays. We all want we all want Eddie Jackson picking balls off. But right now, he's just not getting targeted. All things told, I would tell you, and thank you, Case, that's helpful. I would tell you with a straight face that, I don't see Eddie Jackson thrown at near the rate that I see Jalen Johnson, Kendall Vildor, Alec Ogletree is targeted all the time. And when it's not Ogletree, it's Danny Trevathan. Roquan and Eddie are mostly ignored. Mostly, they just say, oh, I don't want to throw there. And so they don't. But we'll see. And Tom Ford, of course Eddie's in on the plays where we are getting burned. Like, of course he is. He's on the field. But which Bucs game specifically, Case? Oh, you mean the one where he's laughing? Yeah, absolutely. Post that Twitter thing. I thought that was fun. But so, like, yeah, no kidding. Quinn hustles hard on this one. Like, overall, I would tell you that the Packers game showed a lot more out of the guys you want to see it from. Like, Eddie played his heart out. Quinn played his heart out, honestly. Like, Quinn hustles all the way back. Roquan tries to make the play, doesn't get there. But either way, that's one of those that I would look at, and I would tell you that the problem is with this defense is that defense is, okay, so imagine a balloon. Let's see how well I can draw. It's going to kind of look like a goldfish. But so imagine a balloon, right? And the balloon is tied off at the bottom, okay? And there's a whole bunch of air in here, right? So, let me see. So, we've all got the visual of the balloon, right? And when there's no holes in the balloon, obviously you keep the air in it. But if you put a hole in the balloon, as we all know happens to balloons, the air comes rushing out, right? And all the air of the balloon deflates. The problem is that defense, by and large, is kind of like that. Like, you need 11 guys that can all do their job and all play on the same page, or you lose the pressure, right? Right now, this play being a good example, Eddie Jackson is, I would tell you, applying the pressure in the balloon of two players as he ultimately, like, locks away these guys in this setting. But Gibson is the hole in the balloon, and the air just escapes out of it. And the Packers get what could almost be a free touchdown, all things told. Like, just whoosh. I would tell you, with a straight face, I think Eddie Jackson had a really bad Rams game. And without Eddie Jackson, all the games might be the Rams game. He had an objectively bad game against the Rams, and if not for him improving, more would probably look like that. But that's just my 2 cents. So either way, the Buccaneers game happened. It was really bad, and we will have to see what happens next. But this game against San Francisco is going to be an interesting one, because it's more winnable than it probably should be. Like, all things told, the funniest, corniest part about this Bears team is that they are literally, check this out, as you look at my stuff. But so, let's see, did I close the Twitter thing? Like, the scariest part about it is NFL offensive rankings. I like doing this because ultimately there's nothing I like more than pain, right? But so the Bears are dead last in offense, and yes, that stat is correct. They have 255 yards per game, for crying out loud. They have, let me see, what are they in points per game? 14.4 points per game. It is sad. What the Bears offense is doing is a sad, sad thing. And even yet, somehow I think they're an ever so slightly better team than the 49ers, who, I'm not trying to down on the 49ers. I think the 49ers are a good squad. They're just hurt. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, it's pitiful how far down this ranking the Bears are in terms of all of it. But this, like, we'll have to see. This is just going to be a big game, all things told. Because if the Bears want to compete this year, they got to win this game. which is such a silly thing to say, right? Talking about the Bears competing. But, yeah, I mean, if they win this, they then go to Pittsburgh. They come back against Baltimore. And if they win one of those games, they're 5-5 in a slightly easy stretch, all things told. So it's not easy, but they're just getting out of the meat of their schedule. Like, Packers Buccaneers was always going to be a terrible 2 weeks. It's over now. Now they've got to find a way to win against San Fran. Like we said 2 weeks ago, they beat the Raiders. They had to win one of the next 3. This is that one. So I don't know if I would take the Bears in this game because they are underdogs and there's reason for them to be. But I'll tell you what. And I adjust the microphone and I look straight at the camera because it's about time we got to close up. But so Jimmy Garoppolo's playing really bad football. And Trey Lance is probably not ready yet. Like, Zach Wilson, struggling. Trevor Lawrence, struggling. Justin Fields, struggling. They're all struggling. And Jimmy Garoppolo does not look better, you know? And so when I look at this, I would tell you that I think the goofiest part about this game is that everybody's properly down on the Bears. I don't know if enough people are properly down on the Niners right now. But the real question is whether or not the offense is going to be able to move the ball at all. And so, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But either way, Bears fans, you guys are awesome. If you like this stuff, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, support me through donations, memberships, however you want to. Your support just helps me do more of this, and that's awesome. I've got to close up early here at 12:40. You guys are amazing. Hopefully we've got a more fun game to break down here soon, but no promises with the Bears, unfortunately. But either way, y'all, I think we had a fun time together. So have a great one, and I will catch you guys soon. Absolutely. Appreciate you guys too. You're great. Awesome. So I will let things, no kidding, right? Gotta get better. Let's see. Of course, happy to AGM. 100%, always happy to go through everything. Have a great night, everybody. See you guys next week. Next week, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. We'll go through it all. And I'll talk to you later. Bear down. And thanks so much for bearing with me.